historically, it's just been done really bad. You know?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is more of a thing that there are good writers and bad writers, and people, instead of being like, this is a bad book by a bad author, are like, these are the reasons it's bad, and then they, like, pull it all apart instead of just being like, because this person is shitty and they're just bad at what they did.
I think people want to manage badness in a way that doesn't make sense with art, where they're like, okay, a crime has been committed here, so what we need to do is change the system of writing to make sure this never happens again, which is just like not a way you can deal with art ever.
I think that it's weird that we, like, people make art, and then we look at the art and we say, okay, here's all the ways that I find this socially weird. And I think that that's an important thing that needs to happen. And we make but we make people feel like it shouldn't be happening. That when we're saying these are the ways that this is weird, we then add on, so you shouldn't have done it. But like, no, they should have done it so that we could figure out these edges to what's acceptable. You know, like,
yeah.
Thank you for throwing that stone. Now we can tell where the walls are. You know, I think that we just can't condemn people for going there, especially in art, the place where we're supposed to, like, in fiction, that's where we can do the fucked up things that we can't do in real life, so that we can find out what they're like. You know, like it's expiatory. You know, like
Ooh, what about if you're playing someone who dies on screen? You have to actually.
Yes. But
well,
it is literal.
As we get clone immortality, that becomes a viable option. Is all I'm saying.
Like, this is not what it's actually like to die.
I think Wolfe plugs into this very well, because I think when you
are streaming now?
Yeah, we're on the internet.
I'm about to talk about Wolfe.
We're on.
Okay, we are on now?
Yeah.
Are we streaming now?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay, so to me this plugs into Wolfe because, like, really, really nicely. Because when you, like, enforce this literalism in art, when you say a person who writes about X needs to be X, like, you take away X as a symbol. And then when you take something away as a symbol, that is when you are most susceptible to being, like, manipulated through that symbol. Sure. When you say this is only a literal situation, that mental whatever, I don't know what the right word would be, not incapacity. Cognitive differences, yeah. When you say that is only a literal thing, that only occurs in a literal way to an actual person, and you, like, remove that as an experience that could be symbolically understood by anyone, like, I feel like you become suddenly hugely vulnerable to psychic attack along the vector of cognitive difference. Because you think you've got it. You think you've got all of it, and that you've controlled it.
I need to add in one thing, which is that I think we're all severely underestimating how big of a part that literal teenagers are having in the popular discourse at this time.
Yeah.
Like, we need to remember that a lot of these stupid ideas that we're seeing are because that's that person's literal first idea they have ever had in their life.
Very true. Very true.
So, like that's a big part of this, I think.
Yeah.
Like the Twitterverse or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm more primed to be really, like, receptive to that by music culture. Because music culture...
Wait, and then not only that, I want to add a layer onto Jordan's layer, which is not only is it Twitter teenagers, but then it's like baby boomers who are trying to please the teenagers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Culturally.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're even worse at it.
That's worse.
Like,
totally.
Because baby boomers are like teenagers.
Pokemon,
like,
go to the polls.
They're like stunted.
They're all id.
Totally.
They're traumatized.
There are obviously exceptions to the rule, but, you know, they grew up in prosperity and they were coddled by reality.
Right.
And they just are, like, super entitled, so they're like children.
And I'm really excited for this increasingly more intense plague, because we're going to get to see them pushed to the, like, past several markers, you know, like, pushed to a point where you don't have control anymore. And, of course, that generation is going to go to their graves assuming they have control over everything. And we'll just get to see these like weird twists that they do to continue to justify why everything should stay the same.
I
Slash,
think that
honestly
we are
feel
in
like- I
for
honestly
crazy
feel
shit.
like- I
People are
honestly
going
feel
to
like-
absolutely collapse, and those people have guns. I'm telling you, weird things are about to happen.
I honestly feel like our like very tight age group that we're in is like the most interesting place to be because we're really in between everybody. Like
Yeah.
like the Gen Xers are still much closer to the boomers in like they grew up in the fucking 80s, which also was a boom. Like they also were coddled and they also grew up with like American excess or whatever.
And they're
And
jaded
then
by it.
we
Yeah.
kind of like got in, and like we
Yeah.
grew up without the internet, and then got the internet as like young adults or whatever.
I mean,
At the perfect
So
time.
we're sort of like between, and then you have like the ones after us who've been online their entire lives or whatever. And it's just weird. I feel like we're in this really strange. I mean, obviously everyone exists on a spectrum and a timeline, and like it's a gradient the whole way, and everyone's between two things or whatever. But I just feel like the betweenness that we are in is like really an extreme betweenness.
it's the
We
like
are
we're
the most-
straddling the internet.
Insane.
We are the most liminal of the generations.
Yes, that's what I'm
And
saying.
the responsibility of the liminal creatures is to act as psychopumps. We are responsible for the global soul.
Hell yeah.
And it's
fun.
probably the one area of my life where I'm
No.
taking responsibility.
Exactly.
I feel like Mark wanted to disagree with me somewhere in there.
oh, I mean, like, I got the internet when I was like 8 years old, so I, you know,
Yeah, what are the
You're
extremes?
the youngest one, aren't you?
I am the youngest one here, but
Little baby Mark.
I am 32 though, so,
Little baby Mark.
But still, like when you say the internet,
I mean, like
you
the
don't mean
sure,
like, you don't mean
the
like,
internet
what
as
the
we know
internet
it
is
for
now.
sure it was a different thing.
Yeah.
Like you mean like dial-up and shit,
Yeah,
like AIM.
Yeah, the internet wasn't in your pocket.
no, it certainly wasn't.
And it wasn't
now.
consensus either. There was like right now it's like 4 places everyone can agree what the important places are, and there's not that many of them. Back then there was not consensus as to what like the main part of the internet was.
People now have been online since fucking like birth. Like the babies are on the
Yeah, they
internet.
give them
like,
their own tablets.
Yeah.
Like little ass kids now.
babies.
such a
Yeah.
bad idea.
Oh my
Like
god.
when you go to the thrift store or like the grocery store or whatever, and there's like a baby in the cart with a phone. You
Yeah.
know,
It's gross.
it's very different.
Babies.
Yeah, a newborn with a phone. It's crazy.
Man,
Taking
you know what we gotta
pictures of
do? We
itself,
gotta figure out how to
taking
shove
selfies.
one up there in the womb.
I think if I ever had a kid, every time I touch my phone, I would go, ouch!
That's a very good idea.
I love that.
It would
Anyhow,
work for a couple years. It would work for like, it would give me a little bit of cushion there, I think. It wouldn't work for long, but for a little while.
Okay, Daddy.
Surely there's going to be like a generation coming soon that are like where being a Luddite is like the jam.
oh
Like
yeah,
being
like,
a Luddite
I'm
is
not
being the
gonna-
woke. of
I
the-
mean,
I'm not gonna
I
have.
feel like the internet has gotten
grammar
pretty
phone.
boring, so like
Yeah.
eventually
Once-
at least some people
once
are
it
just going to
hits
be over it, you know?
Once it
I
hits
think
the
that we
crest of
definitely
something.
have the leading edge of that memeplex now. There are certainly people in Cascadia who love how much they're not on the internet.
Yeah. I guess like the perils of fame have to like outweigh the benefits, and then also like you need, you know, like maybe people are running from fame at some point in the future, and it's like a big revelation to be like, well then just don't be on social media. People are like, holy shit, losing jobs anymore.
Well, I wonder how much this pandemic is going to play into that, given the celebrigasm that happened right when it struck. And they were like, I've been cut off from my fans. What am I going to do? So they sang Imagine.
Right.
And we
And
laughed.
that was terrible. It was the worst thing they possibly could have done. We all saw how desperate and gross they were for the first time, for real.
Did you see the one of the girl actors punching each other and kicking each other?
No, what the fuck are you talking about?
So it was a very similar thing, like shortly after, but for some reason, I don't know, for some reason it touched me in a place where this like famous stunt woman who's worked with all these huge actresses started a very similar thing, but instead of it being like them singing along to Imagine,
Oh.
it was like each actress had to attack the camera in some way, and then the next
Oh.
actress would respond as if she was attacked and return.
Yeah.
That should, I don't know why, but I feel like if that would have hit before the Imagine, I would have had a totally different feeling about my celebrities.
That was a more fun version for sure.
It was creative, and you got to see a side of people, you know, and the Imagine thing was just so like, you know, like, love me, I am beneficent.
And yet also horribly torturous in its execution.
Yeah.
The
No,
most cringe-
I couldn't
one
listen
of
to
the most
it.
cringe things that's
it
ever
was-
happened.
It was awful.
I mean, it's like, also, it's just like, you picked that fucking song? Like,
Yeah.
there's no way they could have done that well. Like, that's
No.
so fucking corny. Like, oh my fucking god.
it's one of those ideas was like, how did no one in this chain get in the way and be like, can we like maybe switch this concept up a little bit?
I mean,
I mean,
celebrities
my
have been
favorite
doing.
part- I mean,
We're
it
in the
just-
same room as their managers anymore.
I mean, this is
It
We
just
Are the World
proves
too.
how- no, it just
This is the same
proves
shit.
how unself-aware they are.
Yeah.
And also, like, I mean, it also, like, who their audience is, which is, like, our fucking, like neoliberal ants or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
it's
this just proves what Mark was saying, that people got to accept editorial comment.
yeah. I mean, but that Imagine thing was just the same as like the We Are the World deal. Like, there's
Yeah.
plenty of precedent for that kind of bullshit. Although notably,
Do they know it's Christmas? The best
yeah.
Christmas Carol?
Oh my god. And notably, Prince refused to be a part of anything like that. Like, and that was like part of why Michael Jackson and Prince had this beef, is because like Prince is like, no, I'm not going to do We Are the World, because he had some fucking integrity.
One more, Mark.
Have you heard the
Maybe-
conspiracy?
Was he a
Have you heard the
Jehovah's Witness at that point?
What?
Was he a Jehovah's Witness at that point? Because like, he probably wouldn't have even been allowed to. God would
I
have
think
said
that came later in his life.
Yeah, I mean that was in the '80s. I don't
So just a
know. I don't know if he grew up Jehovah's Witness. I don't know that
No,
much.
no, no,
about
no. It was someone in his. The story, as I recall, which could be sort of off, but it's something like this, was like somebody in his band was Jehovah's Witness and was like, they had like an argument about it, and he was just like, and he won me over. Like, something like that. Like, he won. Like, he got me.
That's kind of amazing to think of anybody winning an argument with Prince.
It's
Especially
something
that
like
argument.
that. Like, he just convinced me. He got me.
That's awesome.
I mean, I guess that's the power of a religion that's completely built around evangelizing. So,
yeah. Like that's what you're supposed to do.
It's kind of the coolest reason to become a modern like to convert to a modern religion.
Really feel
My
that
buddy
Prince
just had a really good argument for it, and I don't know.
Prince should be the yardstick to which every other famous person is judged. Like, if you don't do more than Prince, you should probably not be famous.
that's a high bar.
More than
Yeah, but
Prince?
but look at the financial remuneration these people get. I feel like we gotta expect more of them. We have a lot of just really disposable bad content, but
Very,
that
very
makes
much so.
millions of dollars and creates tons of waste in its production. I feel like we could say, hey, I want 100% Metacritic on all this shit if we're gonna like keep it going like this. I want 95 and above. You gotta be like, start
Is it-
with Prince. That should be where you aim.
And
Maybe
isn't that the big argument of capitalism? Is like, well, the market will decide what gets that
Right.
100%. and it's not critics, it's the money. So like they.
And who's got them? Who's spending that money? Us. We need to be.
It just means
we
that
need to
capitalism
fin
is
dom our
capitalism has
celebrities.
really bad taste. That's the
But a celebrity, I know that I'm completely treating the joke wrong right now, but
No, that's
I'm
even
having a
funnier.
good time, so I'm going to. A celebrity doesn't choose to be a celebrity, right? Like, if we want them...
In this economy,
Make all the faces you want, Ryan, but listen to the rest of what I'm saying. Stop.
That's
It's
less
incumbent
true
upon
in our
us to stop adoring them.
silk
got two
for
words.
silk
I got
for
two-
call day.
two-
Silk for
two
call day.
words. 2 words. Publicist, manager.
Yeah, it's not an. I don't really agree with you either, Connor. Like, because everything is so contrived at this point. It's not like you can be Devo and get on the radio. Like
You can't even be sex and get on the radio.
Well, like the things that like we as a large group, like mega population, are like choosing. We're choosing from a preordained list. Like,
Right.
it's like, do
You're
you
talking
like
about
Taylor
becoming a
Swift or
celebrity.
do you like Katy Perry?
You're talking about becoming a celebrity, not stopping being a celebrity. That's a different story.
It can be done. Dave Chappelle did it. Fiona Apple did it.
Dave Chappelle did not.
They are
do it
both
in
still
any way.
celebrities. That's
no, Dave
either-
Chappelle absolutely did not do it. He just hosted Saturday Night Live like last week.
But he
Yeah,
was
Dave
on for
Chappelle.
like-
He was gone and
always a
came
celebrity.
back. He left and lived in Ohio, and nobody fucking heard from
And
him.
everybody talked about him constantly the whole fucking time. He
Yeah,
was
because that's a weird
not
thing
a
to do,
celebrity.
man.
He just took a break from his part.
I think there was a deeper soul searching thing that happened, and I think he came back.
For
because-
him, but he was still, his celebrity remained. He didn't take that
in
away.
this
People
regard-
didn't stop talking about
In this
him.
regard, I agree with Connor.
But I think if he hadn't have come back, you could. It's that he came back. You're recasting what happened then.
If he hadn't
agree
have come back, he would have been an even bigger martyr.
because he disappeared. I think the only way to really stop being a celebrity is for it to happen when you're a child, and then you eventually just completely stop, and then you become an adult who nobody knows about. They only know about your child
I
self.
think if
People
you don't have a
people
publicist,
have to like forget about you.
if you
Yeah.
don't have a publicist competing with the other publicists that are actively trying to get people in the news, like it's almost impossible for someone to write about you. They've got all of this stuff coming to them, paid for.
They can speculate shit. That's all they want.
They
to
can,
do.
but there's nothing in it because it's an industry. Like the publicists are paid to make sure that the articles that get written are about the right things. And with someone who doesn't have a publicist, the chance of someone doing like a weird stunt article about them are very, very low. Like you have to have some participation in the industry in order to be a newsworthy item. And I think that's hidden from us. I mean, that's been hidden from us very, very successfully ever since Kurt Cobain. Like, he was the dude that was just a guy who walked into fame and who called his publicist every fucking day to ask why MTV wasn't playing, their videos more often.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Cobain was like 100% two-faced about that stuff. He was...
Wow, what a little fucking baby.
Well, I mean, he was also a heroin addict and abandoned his child, so it's not like... He wasn't...
I thought he was without sin. I hate this. This is the worst news for me.
I didn't know that you loved Kurt Cobain so much, Connor.
Yeah, you only read
I
Horn's
just
account.
thought he was without sin.
You read Horn's account of grunge.
Oh, you read Horn's account.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is a weird chapter. This is a pretty literal chapter.
Ooh, bringing it back.
Somebody drank all my coffee.
Probably you.
I got a suspicion.
You're in your house that only you live in. So
Well, we have no way of knowing that Aaron didn't sneak in here while I was sleeping and drink my coffee.
That's a serious accusation.
I have a feeling that Aaron doesn't want your coffee. I feel like Aaron has strong feelings about his own coffee.
Or to see you sleeping.
I look great when can I relate a terrible story about me sleeping?
Just before, let me preface it by saying to the viewers, we actually started about a half hour late today in an attempt to get all the non-wolf conversation over.
Oh,
Tell
well,
your
I
story.
don't have to tell
No,
this
you
story.
should-
No, I want you to tell it. I
You
just
should
think
tell
the
this
whole
story.
situation is-
I've already
It's a
heard it.
wonderful story. Okay, so I was having a dream the other night in which Anne was laying on her stomach reading on the living room floor, and Kiefer Sutherland had broken in, and he was just wearing tighty whities, and he was holding a knife to her neck. And I didn't like that, so I was climbing over this kitchen counter to get Kiefer Sutherland. But in my sleep, I was like writhing and screaming, so Anne went to wake me up. And she woke me up just as I was getting to Kiefer, and I was screaming at him, so I woke up and screamed in Anne's face, "I will kill you!" And so she started to cry.
Jesus.
Isn't that a crazy story?
Oh, it's so terrible. It's so
It's
terrible.
almost like what happened with Mucor and Orpine.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, there
you're
you
doing
go.
the Lord's work.
Tying
You
it
saw
in.
Kiefer Sutherland's face in Anne's skull.
I could totally, like, as I woke up, I could tell, like, oh, I shouldn't be screaming this, but the words had already, like, left the mouth, and I couldn't suck them back in. It was quite a time.
You think that's better or worse than pee in the bed? Because you're dreaming about peeing.
That's
Oh.
worse, I think.
To pee?
Every
In front of
no, I feel like
I was pretty
everybody's
shaken up
pissed
for
the bed
days.
at some point. Not everybody has threatened their significant other with.
Yeah, but there's more cleanup involved with it when you piss the bed, so there's more repercussion.
No, there was definitely much more emotional cleanup involved in this.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's what Madison just shouted from upstairs. I've never pissed the bed.
I also have not pissed the bed.
Ever in your entire life.
Not by accident.
I mean, maybe as a
Not
child,
by accident.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
but I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No, what we're talking about is fucking chapter 11, Summoned, of Nightside of the Long Sun.
Nice, Ryan. Very nice.
Yeah.
Bringing it all in.
What happens in this one?
He explains what happened in the last two chapters is mostly what's happening in this one.
Oh,
Yeah. This is him and
Shani.
Orchid, or this is him and what's her name, Chenille,
Chenille.
I love Chenille.
and he's sort of interrogating Chenille, or like kind of coaxing this information out of her. I feel like Silk is in a very interesting role throughout this whole conversation with her, because we get to see him in his detective side, but he's pretty like sensitive about it too. You know, like we get these little glimpses of how he's communicating here, and he's trying to like win over her trust through honesty. You know, but he's also kind of condescending as well. You get some glimpses of complexity here with Silk.
You are describing a Catholic priest. He is a priest
Yeah.
and a professional.
Yeah. There's so much going on. Right. He's teasing information out. He's being paternal and, and he genuinely seems to care about her livelihood. And he's also kind of passing a little bit of judgment on her, but not that much, really.
The judgment is essential to what he's doing, because the judgment is the forgiveness. He's striving her, and he has to have that condescension in order for his forgiveness to have weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think.
Feel that.
As a Catholic,
Yeah, I've never. What's confessional like?
Wild.
I was always bored by it.
By having
Did you do it face to face when you were little?
I did do a face to face.
That's how they did it at mine too.
But as opposed to,
With the screen.
Yeah, you can kneel behind a screen, or you can do it.
you don't always do it with the screen.
It's option. It was optional for us. But I also knew that I didn't need this man's forgiveness for any picayune little thing that I'd done.
I mean, it's therapy. You're saying something you can't say to anyone else. I feel like
Right.
that's one of the main functions of it. It's like
Right.
it helps you come to grips with what you've done by like admitting the reality in a place where it's not gonna, it's not gonna affect anything else.
And I think that the thing about me and therapy is that I only need the therapist there to be an audience. I'm going to do all the work.
I think a lot
I mean, that's how
of it
therapy is supposed to work.
That.
Yeah, therapists don't.
Well, so
get
then
to- Not really.
then I'm running this show, and this man ain't shit. I steal the power from that guy.
If you wanted him to tell you what to do, he would be like, "This is not my job, sir."
Oh well, I don't think the other option beyond audience is telling you what to do, but it's rather figuring things out.
Right.
I just need him to observe. I don't need him to ponder through things.
Yep.
Like I'm always expecting a therapist in therapy to come out and have be like, have you considered this, and have some insightful thing that I'd never thought of about my situation.
I
Like when
think
Dr. Melfi does therapy.
I think in many cases therapy is really just the thing that allows you to externally to process shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I do that to
You have
everyone.
to like say stuff about something.
Yeah.
It just makes it less abstract or whatever.
Yeah,
You
and I
have
think
to
it does
kinda,
help.
Like,
Sorry.
you have to determine like how you actually feel and like try to explain it. It gives you clarity on what it is that you feel.
I think it does help to have somebody who can reframe the thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or somebody who can recognize where your blind spots are,
Right.
and kind of bring your attention to that so that you can divulge that yourself. But
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately,
I've seen-
you're not going to therapy for somebody to tell you what to do.
I've been seeing my therapist for over a year, and she revealed her very first insight just this week. And she didn't even reveal an insight. She just asked me a question. Like, they're not there to be like, "Oh, have you considered this? What about?" Or like, "This is what it seems like to me." It's more like, "Huh? Why did you do this?" Or like, "Why is this important to you?" And just like that was the insight. Was like, "Why is this particular thing important to you?"
Right. That's exactly what I think of what I expect
Yeah.
from a therapist.
And it like did reveal something. It revealed to me that she had some kind of insight, but she wasn't telling me what she got from it. She was asking me to think about that thing, and that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But usually she's just like, "Huh, ooh."
What's funny here, Chenille doesn't know she's being shriven.
Right.
That's like never
right.
discussed until Silk says it to someone else.
Which is kind of rapey.
It is invasive, at least.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Which is the essence of being a spy.
Yeah, and Silk definitely thinks he's the spy. He's like at every turn prepared to do a thing he doesn't want to do. And he talks about, I guess in the next chapter, he's talking to Auk about it. He's constantly reiterating that like he's like prepared to do bad things because that his mission is to save the Mantian, whatever it takes.
That's something I really like about this book, is how repetitive it, like how, like it really keeps reaffirming, like, okay, this is what I am. This is what I am all the time. I like that.
And there's a one line where, like, he does get aggressive in. This is one of those situations like when he robs blood, where he's aggressive to a point that is not being acknowledged in the narration at all. Like when he's telling Chenille, "I could convince the civil guard also if I had to. It would be easy, Chenille, because nobody cares about you. Very likely no one ever has, and that's why you're here right now, living as you do in this house." That's like an evil cop shit kind of fucking move.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's like making a murderer kind of stuff right there.
And then they become friends. Like she doesn't become friends with him, right? Whoever is
Kypris.
possessing her does. Okay,
Well,
never mind.
it's a gray area.
He's like telling it like it is there. You
It
know?
is, but it's totally intimidating and threatening.
Yeah,
Right.
for a reason.
It's taking her apart. It's NLP. he's negging her.
He's being a little bit manipulative here.
It's 100% pure manipulation.
Yeah, it's an affront, like the gall to say that to somebody that you don't know.
He's on a mission from
Th-
God, you
this
guys.
exact
Everything he does
scene
is
happens
acceptable.
in Mr. Robot season 1, and it's kind of one of the worst things that happens in Mr. Robot, where he just completely takes apart this security guard.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, nobody cares about you, and I need someone who's important. You're not at all important. Go find me somebody important now. It's horrible what he does to this man.
It's so bad.
Damn.
Mr. Robot, one of the best shows.
Hey, I started watching Legion.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've been watching Legion.
Got one more episode in the first season.
Oh, cool.
I need to pick up season 3 again. I couldn't finish it.
I'm like
I
halfway
was
through
not
the second season at this point, but
I love those dance battles.
yeah, the first season just is so good. Like it's just so weird and scary.
I like the surreal office of the second season.
Yeah,
I like the office where they're making announcements about it, paying attention to if you're seeing hallucinations, and if you see something, say something, or unexpected feelings are to be reported. If you feel something, say something.
yeah.
It's so funny.
I'm still faithfully trying to figure out how to like Deep Space Nine.
The first
I
season
refuse
is
to give
rough.
up. I refuse
It's
to give
not
up.
I think the third season, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. You know, I did enjoy it, but the whole time, I didn't even finish Deep Space Nine. I had no interest in finishing it.
How much Deep Space Nine is there?
But there's
Five.
The same amount as Voyager. There's like 100 and
There's like 8 or 9 seasons.
170
Yeah.
episodes. I
No,
think
there are
there's
a couple.
I think there's 7 seasons.
There are a couple Deep Space Nines that made me cry.
It gets
There's
Pure,
some really good ones in there.
as it goes, it gets better. The first couple of seasons are fun, but there's not a whole lot to them. And then
I've so far just found it so boring. It's just like a workplace. Workplace drama.
Yeah, it's very dry early on.
that, although that is one of the big differences between it and TNG, it was that the Roddenberry mandate on TNG that no Enterprise people could have arguments with each other. Like everybody got along because they were working towards a single goal. And then Deep Space Nine happened. It was like, oh, everybody can have beef with each other. And this is a totally different kind of narrative because of it.
That kind of totalitarian bullshit is what makes me not like Star Trek.
It was very product of the Cold War.
Yeah,
Yeah.
horrific. Mindfuck.
Anyway.
Gene Wolfe.
The moment had come, Silk felt, to stretch the truth in a good cause.
Yeah, Silk's so bad.
I don't know where you had your dagger, but last year we found that one of the girls at our school had a dagger strapped to her thigh. Is that just a detail, or is this one of those Wolf things where we know who that girl is? We don't, right?
Who's saying this? Chenille?
No. Silk is saying it to Chenille. I don't know where you had your dagger, but last year we found a girl had it strapped to a dagger strapped to her thigh.
I feel like rather than that being a really specific thing to call back to, it's more an indication of the kind of neighborhood that his school exists within.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Like
a
that's-
shocking detail.
It's
at this
the
point.
kind of neighborhood that produces someone like Auk, and you can even see that in the children as they are now.
Like in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Byron is probably a lot like Baltimore.
Or at
Well,
least
yeah, I mean,
Silk's
Chenille has that whole anecdote about, her girlfriend, I forget which one, having the knife to fight off like 2 guys on the street. It seems like pretty regular for people to carry around weapons.
Greg never goes anywhere without a weapon.
Who does?
You talk about his breath?
Oh.
No, he's always has secret knives and shit on him.
The cane sword and stuff.
And yeah, and like just ridiculous things.
I
remember when the quarantine hit and Craig and Aaron amassed a armory by the front door, that both of them took me aside and showed me the armory so that I knew that it was there in case something happened.
You're the first line of defense in that building, Connor.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
I mean, they should go up front while you cast aerial effect spells behind them. That's
Exactly.
That's right.
I will
Absolutely.
summon a lightning storm.
you don't put a mage on the first floor. Like, what's?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was poor planning.
That's funny.
If Aaron is a fighter and Connor's the mage, who is Craig?
Rogue.
Thief, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a rogue. I mean, he's like a rogue with like high strength or whatever, but definitely
He's like the worst ever kind of rogue too, with
Kind of
a huge amount of misplaced self confidence.
Okay, book.
Well, that was a fun little side for me. I had never thought of the building that way, but it so clearly is what it is.
Well, hopefully the threat will come from the sky. So you'll have the
That camp burglar
casting
that
time.
you kept talking about, which when people broke in, they just broke into Aaron's apartment.
Right.
On the second floor, third floor.
Correct. Second floor. Thief is on the third floor.
Got to set some traps.
Anyway, back to the book.
So Chenille knifes Orpine, and she describes the moment that Mukor, possessing Orpine, approaches her, and Orpine says, "You're so beautiful." And I guess that Chenille is like frightened by her appearance, so she knifes her at that point.
So what a way to respond to a compliment.
Yeah.
Chenille don't take shit.
So Mukor wasn't like threatening her, really.
Mucor's putting on a body so she can touch somebody else.
Yeah.
Was Chenille possessed by Kypris when this is happening?
Yeah.
Who remembers it?
I
Well,
never
I
occurred to me,
remember
but like, what if Chenille was possessed by Kypris? Kypris is the one who stabs Orpine.
Cypress is very
I don't-
violent.
Kypris,
And Kypris is also
cops
very beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and jealous.
Does anyone
Kypris
have?
does say that she possessed Hyacinth, but I don't think she says that she possessed Orpine here. Although I did have the same
No,
question.
Chenille.
Chenille.
Shemaz.
Kypris does possess
Oh.
Chenille regularly in this book.
Yeah.
Chenille's like her main vehicle
Right.
in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chenille's, yeah.
So you're saying in that moment?
Yeah, what if Chenille was possessed by Kypris? It's just I just had a thought. It's not a,
Yeah.
I'm not going to press the matter.
Cutting Cypress.
So what would the payoff? What's the like? What,
It's like,
what's
ooh,
the-
a devil.
Kypris knows what the deal is with Lucor, or like recognizes something.
But she would know that she can't kill Mucor by killing. Or can she? Can you kill Mucor by killing someone she's possessing? We don't know. That's interesting.
It's just a thought I had. It's not. I'm not prepared to like defend it to the death.
Oh, I'm not talking about like defending it as in like did it happen or, but it's more like what does that add? What other layers does that add if it's true? Because it's interesting
Just
to
a
talk about.
layer of like
We're in book
the
club.
possibility that there's more possession happening than is literally accounted
Oh,
for.
I think that's true. I think there's
Than
way more
anything.
possession than we're clued into, or that is like secret, kind of hinted at. Maybe I think there's probably tons of possession going on.
I mean, a real polytheist would believe that any extreme act is a case of possession, right?
Well, because then there's also like when she says like doesn't she say like I didn't kill Orpine, you know? And maybe it's
I thought the
true,
stress was on
sort of,
Orpine.
that she didn't. Like A, she's not Orpine, and B, I'm not Chenille or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, her I didn't kill Orpine is a very Silk-like constructed deceit. That's how Silk would reply to that. I didn't kill Orpine.
Right.
It wasn't me, and it wasn't Orpine.
What's a? Oh, I don't know. If I kind of
It's
jumped
kind
in.
of like that thing where you constantly have to like remember that Severian is also Thecla. It's just like there's a lot of characters in one character potentially at any time.
Yeah.
That's all I'm mainly pointing at.
And I feel like that identity breaks down further the more we go through the book.
Yeah.
And now we also have to keep in mind that everybody is filtered through a lens of Horn.
Yes.
And whatever Horn's understanding of this weird identity that's going on is at the point of writing the book. Which I kind of think Horn's smart.
I mean, he knows how to craft a narrative to meet his ends, you know? It seems like Horn has a level of awareness over what he's doing that Silk doesn't. Or at least that Silk doesn't appear to have, given this account. And, I mean, Horn loves Silk, but Silk still kind of comes off as a clueless, fool in a lot of ways.
Horn is a teacher's pet. Let's just get it over with.
Brown noser!
Yeah.
We didn't need to. There was no reason to say that.
We all know the deal.
I like when Silk uses the Azoth to cut up the penis painting of Paz on the stage. That was very surprising to me that he would.
A very deft use of something that cleaves reality in twain.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Hyacinth busted it out, it destroyed stone walls, and he's slit the top of a backdrop.
I noted that was odd that he could do such fine work.
Yeah, or maybe the Azoth responds to your intention a little bit.
Oh, he has a preternatural ability to use swords.
Exactly. Silk is genetically engineered to be like a fighter, right? I mean,
he's a
he
Jedi.
has uncanny ability with weapons, so it's not surprising.
Yes, the Swordsmaster feat.
The Swordsmaster feat.
That's a sign. That's a foreshadow.
Swords are cool.
Swords are pretty rad. Gene knows it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
What next?
Is this the chapter?
Sacred golden shower.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What?
It says golden shower in this chapter. It's right before. It's when he's slicing up that backdrop. It says, in the original painting, two of Paz's taluses, mighty machines of a peculiarly lovely butter yellow, were still at work upon the whirl, planting a sacred golden shower in back of Paz's throne.
Gross.
What does that mean?
I know what it sounds like.
So Paz likes getting peed on.
I mean, Zeus did appear to, Leto? No, Leto's the swan.
Yeah.
Zeus appeared to somebody as a golden shower.
Right.
It's true, yeah.
Was it?
I don't think.
Was it Perseus's mom? Donna or whatever her name is?
Donna.
Donna.
Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to be convinced that he means peeing on somebody here, but it is very, very funny.
Yeah, when did Golden Shower enter the sexual lexicon?
It always was there.
Yeah, Ben Franklin was saying it for sure.
Really? Okay.
He was, yeah, in the Hellfire Club. I feel like he was like there. I've read that was one of his things.
Featured piss boy of the Hellfire
Yeah.
Club.
Ben was a freak.
Yeah,
Yeah, but did he necessarily refer to it as golden shower? Like,
I like to
I mean,
imagine
he seems
his
like-
face doing that.
He seems like he would.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
He
don't
was
have
a
trouble
cheeky
believing that golden shower is an old thing. I'm just
mean-
not totally convinced that that's what he means here. It could be. It's just weird.
But what does he mean? That's what I want to know.
That's a good
Yeah.
question. Maybe he means the Zeus thing, since this is a sexy thing.
well, they say they're planting it while passes blossoms frighted holy tree. I feel like it's a tree.
Which must be an oak.
I mean, it seems that golden shower is a type of tree. Or that's what this is insinuating in the context.
I mean, I could
Sounds
see
like
I
a
could see
flower
that
to
being a
me.
description of.
Oh, and it's one word.
Fistula, kasha fistula. Indian laburnum or pudding pipe tree is a flower.
Cassia?
Pudding pipe.
Kasha, yeah. Kasha fistula. What a weird name. Also known as purging cassia, golden shower, pudding pipe tree.
Say pudding
And
pipe.
I wish there was a character in this book named Golden Shower. That would be awesome.
Pudding pipe tree. It's the state flower of Kerala.
It is a flower. A
Yeah.
flowering tree.
The flower are of ritual importance in the Vishu festival of Kerala, and it was depicted on the 20 rupee stamp. National flower of Thailand.
All right.
Hey, this is like a kind of a Indian
Oh, it's
origin
because
to
South
Pause.
Asian.
it looks like. Oh, you can't see this. It looks like this. That's why it's called.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It is nice looking.
It's a
I
horny
mean, I'm
tree.
guessing that there must be some sort of religious episode behind this type of tree in one of the Indian scriptures, you know?
that
Golden
Gene is probably
showers.
aware of because Gene seems to be really plugged in.
In Ayurvedic medicine, the golden shower tree is known as Aragvada, meaning disease killer.
Huh.
Though it has been used in herbalism for millennia, little research has been conducted in modern times, although it is an ingredient in some mass-produced herbal laxatives.
Nice.
In India, a cathartic is made from the pulp and sometimes added to tobacco.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wikipedia. No, I will not donate to you.
Very interesting.
You know, come on, donate a little bit.
Nah. I gotta send that money to Biden.
They only need.
Yeah,
they only
Biden still needs our money,
They
guys.
only need $2.
Why doesn't he ask one of the billionaires that he hangs out with all the time?
Because then it would be, like, you know, that'd be shady.
Because
He probably
Bernie
does.
made it cool. Bernie made it cool to get small donations, and it
Yes.
adds you an air of legitimacy now if you do that.
You can call it a grassroots movement.
Exactly.
But weren't they? That was always their thing, though. I thought.
What?
Being crowdfunded, or, you know,
Was always whose thing?
Wikipedia's.
Oh, we're talking about Joe
Oh, we
Biden.
were talking about Joe Biden.
Oh my God! That's one of my favorite things that is happening right now. I just not stop laughing about it. What the fuck?
It is really good. It is like the shark is so far back
Very,
there. We
very
jumped
good
it so
time.
far long ago.
Everything is it's like a fucking Charlie Chaplin movie.
Yeah.
It's like so silly. Everything just got so silly all of a sudden.
So silly.
I
And
like.
everything feels. It went from like this thing where everything felt like so significant. At least this is my experience. Everything felt so significant at one point, and then it's just like gone. And it's been an arc or whatever. It's not like an immediate thing. But now it's just like nothing matters. It's just like all totally
honestly thinking back to all those times in the primary when Biden was like, vote for the other guy. I don't know, why don't you vote for Trump? When he was saying all that, to me that sounds like a man who knows the outcome of the election has already been decided. You know,
That's a fun way to think.
Who puts no effort into trying to convince anyone to vote for them? Someone doesn't need anyone to vote
I mean,
for
that's pretty much that was the Democratic platform this year was like, what, are you going to vote for Trump?
them. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, it's a non-platform. It's like you have to, so it doesn't matter if I convince you or not.
And now there's like, I need some money. Hook me up. Hook me up a little bit right now. You know, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about stimulus next year.
I swear to God, not voting for Joe Biden has been one of the joys of my life. It makes me happy to think about. Like, I feel joy from that decision. And if I had done it, I would feel the exact opposite.
I feel vicarious joy.
I feel nothing, I think.
Yeah,
I feel no way about voting for Joe Biden.
I do not give a shit what I did or what I will do in the future.
That's a good stance.
I'm gonna write in Hillary and Biden for the rest of my life at every election and tell people, and when they're like, I'll be like, what? We've been through this. I learned what to do. Okay,
Yeah,
I was paying attention.
You told me I had to. What, you want me to not do it anymore?
You guys need to stick with the cause and not just be fly-by-night fans of these important politicians.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's my thing about blanketly telling people to vote, is that you realize you're telling Americans to vote, right? You realize how dumb Americans are, right? Like, you're like not doing anyone any favor.
Oh, I was reading Thomas Merton the other day, and he's in this little book where he's telling you how to read the Bible. It's not my favorite Thomas Merton thing, but he says in it a thing that I thought pertained to this Wolfe Pack, in that every generation finds in the Bible exactly what it is looking for, and which is also what it deserves. That's I think a quote
Like
by Eric.
Batman.
Yeah, I think he's quoting Eric Fromm, maybe, when he's saying.
I
that.
like Eric Fromm.
Yeah, Eric Fromm had an interesting, I didn't know until I read this Merton thing, he had an interesting relationship to religion, where he considered himself not a theist, but he was somewhat obsessed with Judaism and Christianity. He was like raised Jewish, but not really, as religious. But then he was trying to understand it from a materialist perspective for the rest of his life, but was very weirdly sympathetic to religion at every turn. He did say a lot of stuff about how conversing with someone who knows they don't believe is often way more easy and productive than conversing with someone who knows that they do believe. That he felt like all the worthwhile discourse he had was with people who had kind of written the Bible off and were able to talk about it however.
Interesting.
Yeah, whereas
you're not held back by
doctrine.
having to not be blasphemous.
Yeah, or to be respectful or to fulfill some expectation. Yeah, and that he would often be able to find really insightful perspectives on things from people who were kind of looking at it as this weird alien garbage story and trying to figure out what it meant.
Alien garbage story is an amazing way to describe the Bible.
Alien.
But when I was reading, Merton is one of those, sometimes when I'm reading Merton stuff, I get the sense that Wolfe has read it too. Although I also feel that about sometimes with James Hillman, and that seems less likely. Hillman's way more niche and not Catholic at all. But he is, I feel like, one of the biggest modern polytheism guys. From a psychological perspective, not from a Wicca ritual perspective.
Oh, the Wiccans.
Or New Druidism.
A satru.
But Merton is last century's example of the modern person who's dissatisfied with regular life and then surprises themselves by becoming a monk. Which I feel like is a low key Wolfe doing that with finding, a science man who gets deep into religion. and is like, how did I get here? And why does it feel so good?
The science religion thing is really interesting towards the end of this chapter and throughout, where Silk is saying, oh, well, all those other, Pateras or people who came and performed exorcisms here at this mansion, they didn't do it right. So obviously it just didn't work. I'm actually going to do the real thing, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work. And that really got me thinking, I mean, it's implying that the way Silk is doing it, assuming that it is working here, it's implying that the way Silk's doing it has has a real difference in a real effectiveness.
He also knows that it's Mucor.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious because the reason that it's effective is that he's like threatening. He's acquainted with the devil and he's personally threatening.
Yeah,
he doesn't hold
it has nothing
power.
to do with like purity or whatever.
It's funny because he knows the true like scientific cause, but that cause is supernatural. So it's like
Right.
it's like in one way he's like playing both sides, but it's like there's still even another side of like actual materialism.
This is like the most Catholic episode of the book yet.
Yeah, I underlined the part where he's like, we haven't finished our third procession. We're going to go do that right now. To me, I was like, this is like when we sometimes talk about the Catholic versus Protestant, I felt like that was a huge Catholic moment of like, yes, we've achieved, I know what caused this. We've achieved the thing. I've just had a revelation from God. Life will never be the same, but we're going to finish communion and the way we're supposed to.
Yep.
And Silk, like, totally, I mean,
Three more Ave Marias.
he doesn't give it a second thought. Like, he knows he got to where he is because of his weird obsessive hewing to those rules.
And as regards his his role as like the embryo Silk or whatever, like how he was injected into this situation, like Silk is a soldier, he's not a general. Like he's a foot soldier.
Well, he's a commando.
But I mean, it's not his plan that he's executing. He's executing someone else's plan.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So he's like, we gotta do this by the book, you know?
Well, so there's always something bigger than himself. Even when gods talk to him, like, weekly, he's still, like, not any bigger than he was before.
And it's interesting that there are rules to this, right?
Well,
Because
also,
that implies that this has happened enough times that, they've had to, like, develop a system of getting rid of these devils. And is
It's
that,
not-
so with that, what
Sorry.
were you going to say, Jen?
I was gonna respond to something Ryan said, but you should finish what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just noting that they've had to do this enough times that it seems to be that devils has been a problem in the world.
That's Kretzel. And any other Inhumi who may be there. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm curious if this would work on Quetzal.
How did you say Quetzal's race? Species?
Inhumai? Which one is it?
I don't know. It's a funny word. I have not
I
dared say
assumed
it yet.
because it's like a plural.
Right, and then one of them is Inhumu? Inhumu?
Inhumu.
Inhumu?
What the hell is happening right now?
The vampires.
I was gonna say in response to what Ryan said, it's not only that Silk, who keeps getting enlightened or Theophanid or whatever, it's not only that Silk isn't getting any bigger, it's also that he has been enlightened by this other god, which also makes all of those gods smaller. Continually throughout the thing, those gods get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And they become more they become more intelligible. Like we're able to get our minds around them, and so they can't be big anymore.
Well, the presence of the outsider humanizes all the other gods
Exactly.
just as a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
Like what was once infallible now is, although infallible to me, fallible to something else.
Yeah, and there's that, and then there's like the added layer, like that's kind of like the abstract, and then there's the added practical layer of just like interacting with them personally and like what their personalities are like,
Right.
which is mostly a bunch of whiny fucking bait.
Yeah. Maybe today we can get into the next chapter too, because I feel like the next chapter is when he starts talking with Kypris, starts to reveal a little bit more about the gods.
Yeah.
Well, where are we at right now? We're
in the middle of 11. I would
Yeah.
be definitely down to
I mean-
at least go up to the dinner with Auk, because that was how much
I mean, are we basically in the exorcism at this point, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I guess we might be right before it. My next underline is when is still with that penis painting, where he's got the triptych set up, and Blood's like, which one's Pos? And Silk points to a whirlwind, and then they have this little exchange where Blood's like, I thought he was the dude with two heads. And then Silk says, neither image would be more nearly true than the other, or more true than any other, just merely more appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that Paz is sometimes portrayed as a whirlwind. What is it? A spiraling storm.
Like a typhoon.
Well, that comes from Elijah,
What's that?
right? Where Elijah doesn't hear God's voice in the whirlwind or something else. What is it? A storm or something? And then he hears God's voice in a tiny whisper. Like the implication here, I think, is that the whirlwind is the demiurge, and that's what Paz is. So you would hear his voice in the whirlwind. Maybe this is a stretch. It was just my knee-jerk reaction when I read that.
That checks out. I mean,
I feel like it also has a scientific ambiguity in that, like, someone would be able to say, well, religion starts when caveman looks at the storm and goes, what the hell is this? I can't control this or understand this.
Right.
That must be God.
Right.
I feel like something Wolfe loves. He loves that, like, having it both ways, or like throwing a little bone to one side while being like firmly absorbed in the other.
Mm-hmm.
Both ways.
Right.
But a spiraling storm could be it's just such an image that could be so many things, like maybe when the ship took off, you could see like a spiraling storm behind it, or there's spirals throughout outer space as well. It's just like really resonant imagery.
A spiraling storm.
I was thinking just as basic as a typhoon being a spiraling storm and typhoon being like typhon.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Of which there is a lot of connection. Right? There's an article in the companion book about how there's more of like the mainframe is set up like Olympus, but it really has more resonances with Titans than it does with Olympians. And I think there is a Typhonian connection, or Typhon set connection to Pos.
Mm-hmm.
They're more named for like. No, not really. Never mind. Well, they're more
Interesting.
named after Titans than they are other like Olympians. They're like, I guess they're supposed to be the similar to Olympians. They're supposed to like. We hear Kypris and then we think Aphrodite, obviously, right?
Right.
Like, but what is Kypris? Is she like a nymph or something?
Yeah.
So that's not a Titan. Never mind.
I mean,
The Typhon is a Titan, right? And is Echidna.
Typhon is a monster.
Oh.
He's the generation directly from Gaia, but like with all the Hekanta Kai run, the 100-handed people and stuff like that, and the giants.
Those are the offspring of Titans. Yeah.
No, the Typhon is brothers with them. They're all the offspring of Gaia
Okay.
and Uranus.
Just different guys. Like,
They're just different. They're just different guys.
Earth and sky.
It's like GI Joes. They're just different guys.
They're just different.
Different guy, Joe.
Different
I
guy,
looked
Joe.
up Orpine. Orpine's other names are Live Long, Life Everlasting, Live Forever, Orphan John, and Witch's Moneybags.
I like that last one.
Oh, that's the thing where Silk is like, well, I guess she did she, or whatever.
Yeah, live
And then
long.
he doesn't explain it, and then that's what it meant.
Yeah, she didn't live long.
We got a bunch of chat that we haven't been looking at.
ooh.
One more about Orphine. This, in turn, the name Telephium was thought to be named after a surgical term for an ulcer that was particularly difficult to cure, which was in turn named after King Telephus, who suffered a spear wound that would not heal.
Ooh.
Like our Orpine.
We're fine.
The dolorous stroke.
All right, y'all want to hear about some of this chat stuff?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, backing up a little bit.
What's
So
up, chat?
Johan and Sanic and Ronsky are all in here. Ronsky might not be on anymore. Let's see. Johan says,
What up, Shazbot?
possession is just the most overt level of embodying something outside of you. So possession is constantly happening on some level.
Agreed.
He disagrees with this Horn narrative. I'm not entirely sure which thing he's addressing directly
Maybe
there.
he can
But he,
clarify.
well, he says
That Horn
Nettle.
slur?
He says
He did-
Nettle edited the Book of the Long Sun and was a pretty big part of it, and this seems like Wolfe's way of telling you that the narrator isn't that unreliable.
Wait, that Nettle? You say that the
Nettle.
narrator's not unreliable because of the presence of Nettle?
I think so.
Because he had an editor.
Oh,
But they
Is
wrote
that
it
right?
in
Greenwald.
Sanic knew that Golden Shower was a tree, which, thanks. But also, that's way less fun than it being.
Oh yeah, he
gross
knows
sexy.
all about them, huh?
Johan said maybe people in the past were so hydrated that there were no golden showers.
Oh, that they were just
They're
clear?
dehydrated.
Johan mentions that Wolfe likes his atheist characters. The big atheist character in Long Sun hasn't popped up yet. The Flyer.
There's an employee of heaven.
There are exorcisms that aren't related to Inhumai. Sanic says Inhumu is a male and Inhuma is female.
Makes sense.
And
Let's see.
Inhumi is a baby.
Jan mentioned maybe you can play the Spiraling Storm off the White Fountain, which represents Severian.
Oh, shit.
We like that. We
Sanic
like
found
that.
the place in Job 38 where God speaks to Job out of the whirlwind. And Johan says, I've always considered there to be an underlying Nephilim angle to the gods and solar cycle considering the flood. Nephilim.
Thanks for the chats, y'all.
Sorry,
Chat
yeah, I'll
it
try.
up.
I've got our thing full screen, so I haven't been looking at the chat, but I'll try to look at it more since
If
there's
everybody in the
since
chat
there's some
could like
activity
and
today.
subscribe, and also copy and paste your chats into the comments section.
Fill it up.
Also, please list your preference for tapes or CDs. Which one you like better?
Are we gonna make tapes or CDs?
CDs nuts!
No. All right.
You say CD's nuts?
Yeah, that is what I say.
That is.
It's my thing.
That's pretty clever.
You really get to see so few perfectly executed these nuts. Like, usually they're really ham-fisted and squeezed in, but once in a while,
These nuts are squeezed in.
That's
Nice.
What has become of us?
Bad at
What
talking
we
about
always
books.
were.
Yeah,
it
it's
was
true.
it was inside of us the whole time.
The call's coming from inside of us.
Oh, it's good.
I'm on a roll with the D's Nuts jokes right now, though, because I did my best tweet ever yesterday
Whoa.
in response to the prompt, if you could meet your 18-year-old self and you're only allowed to say 3 words, what would they be? Mine were D's Nuts bye. The best possible answer to that question. And just a innovative new way to get D's Nuts into the discourse.
It's
That's
crucial.
the most important thing.
I expect to be hearing from the Nobel Committee.
Gonna get a
my
Pulitzer
God,
Prize for
someone-
that tweet.
Someone just told me that thing about that I did not know, which I mean, you guys are all online, so you probably already know this. But somebody today told me that thing about how Andrew Cuomo got an Emmy for doing those briefings, which I just think is.
Wait, say
it's
that
another
again?
thing,
No,
like, it's
don't
another-
swallow that phrase. I couldn't hear the end of it.
What?
What's happening? Cuomo, what?
Andrew Cuomo got an Emmy for doing those coronavirus briefings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Television was
And
slow this year.
So it's just like it's just another example of that thing about how everything is silly and like frivolous.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like so goofy.
Oh, and
Reality
you-
is so fucking goofy right now.
And did you hear the thing of Bezos's head PR guy is the dude from, it was Obama's election PR guy?
Oh,
He's
that
hired.
makes sense.
Yeah, he hired the public relations genius behind the Obama presidency to do publicity for Jeff Bezos, the man.
That's great.
It's gonna
Wow.
work.
Everything's great.
It'll work really well, actually.
This
I
is how I
actually
don't understand when Anne says that she doesn't want to live in space. How the fuck can all this be going on here and you not want to be like, shit, I want to get out of here?
Because in space it's gonna be 10 times more because those are the dickheads who are gonna own space and that you
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, in
Yeah, you
space,
gotta be
in
in a
space,
mining
I'm in my
colony.
own little can and I can just float away
No.
from all that shit.
there is no
That's
way
not
you're
how
still
it's
in
gonna
space.
work, man.
You will die like in a couple years.
I will die happy.
The only way that you'll be able to live in space is to be completely wedded to a mega corporation.
Yeah, you're not gonna gather the resources to live in space alone.
It's going to
I
be tough
will
to
be
live
a
on this
pirate.
continent and not be wedded to a mega
Steal from the
corporation
mega
too.
corporations and hide behind little asteroids in the belt. I have been watching The Expanse again.
Honestly, I think we're gonna like in our lifetime have to pick a corporation. Like it's that's
Oh,
happening.
I picked Disney.
Yeah, I mean,
Disney's going to win.
I think Disney has the possibility for mystics more than any other company. There can be mystics
Yeah.
within Disney culture.
I watched an early
I think that used to
cartoon
be
recently
true, but I don't
that
think that's
was
true
exactly
anymore.
something that Robert Graves would talk about. Like Disney, the Disney Corporation are wizards. That is what
I'm not
they-
saying it would be easy, but it is the seed is there in a way it's not there for Apple or Amazon or
Yeah,
Microsoft.
you can't copyright wizards. They're Imagineers.
The most magical thing in the magical world of Disney is the fact that we all see how fucking evil and terrible they are, and we know everything about how they're ruining the world, and yet we still go see fucking every Marvel movie. We go to fucking Disney World as soon as it
No,
reopens.
That's true of all. That what you're saying is true of all the major corporations. Everyone shops on Amazon every fucking day.
But it's
Yeah.
more. But Disney invented that, and it's like we can like. It's just Disney is so much more powerful.
It's like what Connor was saying earlier. Like in art, things that are going to happen later or might happen later are like acted out with no consequence, and then you can see sort of like what can be applied to other areas of culture successfully. And music and movies and art and stories, I feel like like the crucible in which ideas come into play, and then people in other areas, like more literal areas, go, I've learned a lesson from
You know,
this.
I have a friend who, when he was in college, got an internship with Microsoft, and they made him read Snow Crash, and that was that was like part of his thing. It was like, you have to read Snow Crash because and Snow Crash is even satire of cyberpunk, but it's clearly, it's like the most true iteration of that idea that is panned out. I think like it was more prophetic than Neuromancer in some ways.
Totally.
And uh, yeah, it's just totally wild that somebody would read Snow Crash and be like, hey, instead of cities and states, let's just have corporate like territories, and that'll work great. And I'm sure that's like, we're in for it. It's gonna happen at some point,
Oh yeah.
especially
That's
in
funny because
space.
Microsoft as a word came from neuromancer.
Right.
So like,
I didn't know that.
oh yeah, that word was coined for neuromancer.
Ooh, it's been a while since I read it.
Yeah, I want to reread that.
Neuromancer
It's
rules.
so much fun to reread it because you can see all of these cliches that are so tired that you don't even see them now because they're just a given part of your reality and you can watch them being born.
It's fucked up to me the places in which Matrix is just exactly Neuromancer. I feel very off-put by that Matrix for that reason.
I mean, that cyberpunk in so many ways is just Neuromancer. Like, it's a whole genre. It's like the D beat of science fiction. Like,
Yeah, but the Zion thing, the like Rastafarian space guys, that's a fucking very specific idea.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, that's not a thing I feel like you just come up with. I mean, maybe it's true. Maybe that's why it resonates.
Yeah, but
It's because it's just fucking true.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
pastiche and like reuse of stories. We're
I
not
would say-
against that. We're
No, I'm
against
not at
that
all.
here.
I'm not against it at all, but I feel like in Matrix, it's just like they plucked something out and dropped it in, and there's not really a whole lot of flipping of the
well,
trope.
William
going on.
Gibson keeps getting upset at how often people are using the word the Matrix. That's what he's mad. He's just like, call it something else. I came up with Matrix.
right.
That's what's gonna happen to a prophet.
Yeah.
Did he make up that concept, or is that just what a matrix is? I mean, I know what a matrix is. That it's
He
something-
made up that concept.
Okay. Like, what else would you call it?
The internet.
There's
web.
something really
In
stupid.
in Anathem, it's called the reticulum or the ret.
Well, I love that.
So it is
Well, I
possible
love-
to come up with a different word for it.
I mean, cyberspace, right? Isn't that a different word for it?
That
But, yeah, it is
that
another
William
word
Gibson
that was
also
made
came
up
up
by
with.
William Gibson.
Okay.
The noosphere.
Yeah, that's a little bit broader than.
Well, you can't be mad if you make up.
The digithink. What do you guys think about
You can-
the digithink?
I hate
Yeah,
that.
that's
You
what-
guys on
Mad
the
at-
digithink this afternoon?
It's awful.
I like that.
What the fuck is digithink?
It's a
That's a
word
Word
that,
I just made up for the internet.
That's a great cyberpunk corny.
it's a good yeah, it's a very corny cyberpunk word. So.
Yeah, I
mean,
feel like
all
Philip
words,
K. Dick
all
would be-
words have to start somewhere, and like if you make up the word that's just the most fitting word for what a new thing is, like why are you mad that that's the word people choose to use? Like you just came up with the perfect word for it, and that's like it caught on. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, also, like,
Breathe and like making your own story. Yeah, like it is kind of annoying when like you're reading a story and you're like, oh, they just took this from that. It's fine because you know you all like the same things and they're drawing from it, and it's sort of like a, you know, it's like a family kind of thing. You know what I mean? But it's also, you know, like yeah, no, it's a good point. Does everything have to be the fucking Matrix? I don't know.
There's an
Actually-
interesting Seinfeld extra that's an interview with one of the writers, where he's talking about how he's like, I was writing this and I thought that the word that was going to catch on was anti-dentite, but the one that caught on from this episode was yada yada yada. I don't get it. I
Was
was
that the
writing
same
it for
episode?
the anti-dentite.
Was that the same episode?
You
Yeah.
can't.
That's wild.
You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah,
like,
that's funny.
you can't coin something like.
Exactly. Language is a living thing, and we have no control over it.
That's what I was
Usage
gonna say.
dictates.
I was gonna say, like, anti-dentite, you have to shoehorn that in to a really specific conversation.
Right.
You have to work to make
Yeah.
bring that in.
What does it
Yada
mean?
yada yada goes literally
It's when
everywhere.
you're-
That's the whole
People
point.
who don't like dentists.
Yeah. I tell you the kind of person who uses the word anti-dentite all the time.
Craig.
An anti-dentite, and I can tell you that because I'm an anti-dentite.
But it's something. It's because the dentist converts to Judaism to like be allowed to make Jewish jokes or whatever.
And he's still
so then
also
it's
making Catholic jokes.
So then it's like this whole thing where he's like, I just don't think it's cool that he's like making these Jewish jokes, and Kramer's
Or
like,
he's-
you're an
Or he's like, and that offends you as a Jewish person? He's like, no, it offends me as a comedian.
Yeah. And that dentist
It's Walter
was
White.
the man from Breaking Bad.
Yep. He's great in that. Dude.
and his name, his last name is like Wadley. Like
Yeah.
he has my last name.
Yeah.
It's very
It
weird.
all comes together. But how does it tie into the book?
Oh, I have a
Oh.
question.
Yeah.
No, you can say your O first if you want.
I don't think
Oh.
that I think O was all I had.
Oh.
Here, let's look at the comments here. Oh boy, going off.
I hope they're fighting.
Let's see. Johan says, I feel like Short Sun legitimizes the Long Sun narrative in a lot of ways by bringing up the amount of witnesses to the events.
But we're not talking about Short Sun yet.
Come back in 8 months.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my god, come back in a year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
we
He also, so in response to Ryan's CD's nuts joke, he says, "What do you say if the person responds with tape? Tape these nuts?"
You give them a pat on the back and a cup of tea.
Yep. Johan says, in the year 2050, we will live in Walmarts. I believe that. The Disney was a Nazi thing was probably intentional misinformation, so they could do anything else after. I guess, and Sanic mentions the important thing about Disney is that they have zealous fans, and nobody is actually like an Amazon fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney motherfuckers will die for
It's
Disney.
So, every time I see like a minivan that has like the little Mickey Mouse shaped sticker on the windshield or whatever, it blows my mind. Like, I mean, it blows my mind of all the like branding stuff when people are just like into brands or whatever. That is like
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
Johan
the
also,
Apple sticker also is just like weird.
That
Yeah,
one throws
that's
me
another
for.
one. That's another one.
Um,
Sure.
A funny thing that happened to me just now is when you talked about seeing something on a minivan, I was assuming you were talking about the phenomenal amount of Amazon delivery vans that are around right now.
right.
Oh yeah.
Amazon Smile, which is also a very potent icon.
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse is particularly weird in that it's a mouse from 100 years old cartoons who really doesn't work much anymore, but
Yeah.
who is like the focal point of the
No.
devotion.
Yeah.
There
Just
is
an
a
icon.
lot of new Mickey Mouse cartoons coming out that we're just not aware of. Check
Oh.
out your Disney Plus subscription. There's
I
a
don't have
whole
one. I
bunch of
refuse.
new Mickey Mouse shit.
What, that's weird though, because Mickey Mouse is kind of like in Mario in that he cannot have a specific personality. How do you continue to make?
I mean, they keep
Shows
making
about-
Mario games, and they're all great.
Yeah, but the game's different because he's like an unvoiced protagonist. I feel like you can get away with a blank slate in video games in a way that like you can't
I haven't
in a
seen
cartoon, right?
I haven't seen too much of the new Mickey Mouse, but I will say that what I've seen was not bad.
Have you watched the new DuckTales?
I haven't watched the new DuckTales. I had a date to watch the new DuckTales with Sarah Megita's husband, but then the quarantine hit. And that gave me these weird blue balls, and I haven't gone back. But I really want to watch the new DuckTales.
I'm interested.
Because
Catherine
the
Tate
old
doesn't
DuckTales
listen to
is
DuckTales.
so
It's so
awesome And that's the problem with Disney is they make these things
That's
that
the
are
problem.
just talking about the exact thing I want to talk about.
That's the other difference, is that Amazon as a service and a business actually just sucks and doesn't work right and doesn't give you real shit.
I mean, it's great if you want to get
Disney
cheap.
delivers. They have the stuff that they make is amazing, and Disney World is a beautiful place,
It's true.
and it sucks.
And I mean, they do it because they're totalitarian assholes who treat their employees horribly, famously,
Absolutely.
and then mock their employees because of how horribly they're treated, like they're little cucks or something.
Totally.
Well, that's what the business of Disney is to appeal to your fantasies.
Yeah.
That's what they tap into very well, and they just appropriate stories and they appropriate your fantasies, and then they appeal to you, and they're geniuses at it right now. They're probably scientific about it. They really want to manipulate what you want. So they find what everyone used to love, which is something like Star Wars or whatever. Although I'm sure they probably appropriate more or less everything now, right?
Yeah, they are a centralized info-socialist movement that is trying to own all information,
Yeah.
and they are
And to
succeeding.
and to make it emotionally resonant for people. And I think that's what sets Disney apart as a brand, is that it really speaks to the child inside of your soul. It really wants to, and the reason it does that is because it knows it can extract money out of you that way. And it's
That's
been
what
very
Walter was always trying to do.
yeah.
And you guys don't think that's more sick than Amazon in a weird way?
What? Say again, Jen?
You don't think that's like more sick than Amazon in a weird way?
I think it's more vulnerable. Because I think if you're promoting imagination, you can't control what happens after that. And they can
But
do
they're
it very...
not promoting imagination. They're not
Yeah, they're
actually
controlling
promoting
people's
imagination.
They're promoting a
promoting
version of
rehashed
imagination.
nostalgia.
They're imagining for you. They're
Right.
They're outsourcing imagination.
That's
But
literally
imagination is
Yeah,
it's
that's
under
not the
there.
same thing.
it's literally there
It's
in the name.
underneath there.
It's imagineering. That's like they are engineering
Right.
the imagination that you're able to have.
I feel like it's like they have a nuclear power plant, and it's like cranking out intense, record-breaking amount of power. But a terrorist can much more easily fuck with the nuclear power plant than they can like a series of windmills across the nation or something, because it's
Oh,
one
yeah,
place
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's got high-grade
I'm
plutonium
not
in it.
sure though.
We can hack Disney and steal their infrastructure and use it to our own ends.
I think that at the very least, there's a slightly bigger opening than with like Amazon, who has no fucking ideology, no use for the imagination in any form.
But
Well, if
don't
I
think
ran
that-
Disney,
think that
I would
Disney
be
has-
able to use it to do what I want, but there's no way I would be able to use Amazon to do anything.
I think Disney has ideology in the same way that the Democratic Party has ideology. It's like they're talking about stuff they used to do.
Right.
And you're still like buying the thing that they used to do, but they don't fucking do it anymore. They don't.
Oh
make
wait, no,
Absolutely.
no, Jen, you are incorrect there. Disney is doing it better than ever. You have to remember that Disney is Star Wars and Marvel,
Yeah.
and the
I think they're
Simpsons
expanding.
now, and the Muppets.
Disney
No,
will
no,
start
but-
to create
but
more
they're
challenging
just
material.
rehashing old things.
No,
Yeah.
they're rehashing old IP, but they're doing it in crazy new ways. That's the thing. The content doesn't matter. The content is a pulp that just like feels good when you press your face into it. The important innovation is how they're getting you to interact with that pulp, and how much they can make it so that you're just thinking about how great that pulp feels against your face all the time.
Like
And how you forget that there is a reality outside of smashing your face into that pulp.
It's the Matrix.
Totally.
I have a question about the book. Why does Silk say, "I'm assuming that evil being entered your house through the Music Street door, since it is the only outside entrance to the profaned Mantian"? Why does he say that?
Say it again.
He says he has them paint the voided cross above the door to the Music Street door. And he says, I'm assuming that, he said, do you understand why we're doing all this? I'm assuming that this evil being entered your house through this Music Street door, since it is the only outside entrance to the profaned Mantian. Does Silk really not get that she's using windows?
He might not.
Not yet, maybe.
Because, I mean, I am fully convinced she can't go anywhere without a window.
I think that Silk is still thinking about Mukor as this really like as something that's not necessarily linked to the windows and the way the gods are. I don't think that he's figured out that she's not like some weird floaty ghost person.
Silk's being deceitful here, isn't he? Doesn't he understand that the way this exorcism is going to work is that later on he's going to go to Mukor and be like, "Look, Mukor, cut it out." And this is all just a show, and he's saying it because this makes sense within the logic of the ritual that he's doing. That the demon comes in through the door of the profane Mantian, so this is the only place where we need to.
But that doesn't check out with Silk though, because Silk has to believe all of this, right? I mean, that's Silk's MO as a Patera.
Well, he can believe the ritual of what he's doing, but he also knows that in this particular case, what is going to get the real results is that he's going to tell this other entity, cut it out, because he has special access. He still has to do his ritual the right way, because that is also true, and if we're doing it, we have to do it correctly. But he has to, in this case, that is a pretense, because he knows that there is this secret, and he can just deal directly with the secret, is my interpretation.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and he's also not above like smoke and mirrors, and he also is like he. Another thing about him as a Patera or whatever is that when he's like preaching or whatever, he's pulling shit out of his ass. You know, when he like flips to the random section and starts reading it, and then he's like, okay, how does this apply? He's like improving, and he has to have buy-in from the audience. So, you know, like he's good at that.
That's magic.
One of his skills.
And it is divinity too. I feel like that's how you access divinity: is you get out of your own way.
Yeah, inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, Silk thinks that he's being followed by Mukor. Now, when they drove past this mansion on Sun Street the night before on his way back from Bloods, he hears the scream from inside. Is Mukor following him through a network of windows alongside through the streets? Now, or a simpler way of asking that question, was the possession during the night also Mukor?
Doesn't he think it is?
I mean, who else would it be? Kuipers?
I don't know.
But also, Kuipers in the next chapter makes a big deal about how the monitors didn't work until Silk fixed them.
Yeah.
But that might only mean working as far as talking to mainframe, not necessarily working as in, like, providing access to Mukor, I think. I might be overcomplicated there.
Also, we don't know for sure that it was a possession. That's Scream.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is
That's
a place
just
where
like the way
Scream probably
Silk.
happened.
That's the way Silk understands it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it could possibly be an example of Silk sort of overshooting the mark of what he finds to be significantly related to his own mission, but it's not like, it's how he's going to think about everything. It's not necessarily an obstacle.
Yeah, when you got a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah, when you got an outsider, everything looks like the mission to save your fucking church. Also, I think about the network of monitors, I don't think that's how Mukor would follow him. I think Mukor would use a monitor to possess something that moves.
Uh-huh.
Like, if she can possess Oreb, which I suspect still at this point, she like uses a monitor, gets into OREB, and then is flying overhead of him or whatever, or doing something similar to that.
Johan's saying that he doesn't think that Mukor requires mirrors or windows.
Yeah.
She can just travel on the Wi-Fi.
I'm not convinced that this is how Mukor works.
Mukor is 5G.
Yeah, because I still, my big thing still with that, not big thing, but like the example that I can't make work is Teasel's death. Like, he's in the stairs, and then he's Mukor. Like, they're in a staircase.
Yeah.
In the middle of a conversation.
And we can't assume there's a mirror somewhere unless they mention it. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, there's probably just a mirror.
Yeah, they're too poor to have a glass, you would think, at Teasel's house. Why would they have a glass?
But is there a fountain in their courtyard?
Is there what?
A fountain?
I just don't think that this.
Is there any water around?
I don't think it. This is like when people but when people argue about Star Trek and like who was holding what at what time. Like it's interesting and it's interesting to talk about. And I do think it's fun to try to find stuff from the book, but I don't think it adds anything to the story to figure out, to like say that Mukor uses Windows.
Well, Sanic mentioned that she
There's
also...
conversation in a different context, and that makes that conversation more interesting because we see how Silk can misunderstand people, and so in that, just for that alone, I think it's interesting. That one detail.
Sanic mentioned that Mukor talks about how she likes flying around, too.
Yeah.
So it may be that...
But again,
but that doesn't have to be literal.
It's just vague.
Yeah, that could
be like leaving her body in any form could be called flying around, I think.
Yeah, but there also are beings who fly in this scenario.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess that's the significance to me, is that there's this intense ambiguity that you can't get away from when anytime anyone says Windows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to me like she astral projects, basically.
That's what it seems like,
But
yeah.
what is that? That's weird. That's so much more mystic than any other thing we've seen in Gene Wolfe.
That's a good point.
I agree with that. He's
That-
always
that-
got a
that
back door
seems
into
so
our
incongruous
universe.
to me.
That's very true.
Yeah, I feel like he likes it. He gains pleasure from showing us something supernatural and being like, well, actually, not that crazy.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I will.
Yeah. This novel walks that tightrope, and this whole section too, I feel like really flirts with that idea. When we're talking about the exorcism here, like it gets really fuzzy for me. This part.
I feel like this chapter is really successful in that, like, I was getting this sense that the story was getting very literal. He's explaining things, they're doing concrete actions, that, like, this chapter goes down this hallway, and then it ends with an explosion of God being like, oh, by the way, Silk.
Yeah.
I'm, like, here it is, it's real, you get to see one now. It's like the ending of I felt like this chapter was almost like, it's not enough for us to talk about, we're going to have to talk about the next chapter too. And then that ending hits so hard.
That last page, so throughout the whole book, there's this sort of window, glass kind of, synchronicity going on there, like the way that these ideas are layered. But in the last page of this chapter is a time when I feel like we see an authorial, like we see the author, whether that's Wolfe or Silk, we see them, I feel like, manipulating that term window intentionally to confuse the reader, in my opinion. This is like the first time when this window shatters above. Like, I had to reread that a few times.
Yeah, because
like,
the window that shatters is not the window that Kypris is in. It's the window to the outside, to the courtyard.
Right.
Yeah.
A literal window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a regular window.
But the window has also come to life at this point, too.
Yeah, it's the window shattered the window.
Yeah, so I guess it's Kyprus's voice. Does Kyprus insinuate later on that she's able to pierce the glass, Mariah Carey-esque?
Yes, exactly Mariah Carey style.
Mariah Carey, yes.
I had that loaded on my tongue in case you didn't say it.
Although, like, that could be any kind of transmission.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking too
So-
hard.
She says it's sound. She says I can if I hold a pitch, it shatters that glass.
So here's from the comments. Sanic mentions that Teasel wasn't Mucor. That was Quetzal.
No, she said his dad. It's Teasel's dad.
father
Right,
is
Teasel's
possessed
dad
by
was
Mucor
Mucor.
at the end
Teasel's
of the
dad
scene
was
where
Mucor.
Silk goes to visit Teasel.
Diesel's dad.
And
Teasel's dad.
Johan is saying, I'm pretty sure Mucor is astral projecting, but the explanations don't occur in Long Sun.
That is not satisfying.
That's I think that is tough. Johan's has had some really good input, but I think hinging a lot of stuff on Short Sun is, I don't know. I guess I want things to be a little more self-contained than that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that dude is wrong. I'm just saying that this is a failing of the book. If this is the case.
Yeah, if it's only explained in a later book, then that's.
I suspect that it can't be that way because then Short and Long Sun wouldn't have been 4 and 3. They would have been 7.
Right.
Or like
exactly.
6 and 1 or something.
I mean, there's definitely intense, strange connections between these two books, but this book has to be able to stand on its own.
Yeah, I think Short Sun is a deepening, an exploration of things that happen here, but that I don't think Wolfe ever would have planned that it would be necessary for a further trilogy that he had not written yet to be necessary for a quadrilogy with one name.
So Johan's saying he doesn't even think it's necessarily explained later on, and the whole Mucor thing is maybe just a I don't know. Which honestly, that is more satisfying to me, of just having because I feel like that's something that we talked a lot about with New Sun, is that look, there are a bunch of different ways that you can look at some of this stuff, and there probably isn't one right way to think about it. And there are some things that are just mysteries.
Also, some things in our real science-y world have not been explained by science.
This just seems different from the rest of the book to me. All of this.
I see what you're saying totally. I get that, for sure.
Like this dude who exalts in playing these little logic games is gonna say, but not this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's just flying this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? I don't know.
This one is magic for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, what about his
I'm not saying that it's necessarily meant. I don't think all things in our world that can't be explained by science, at our science or whatever, necessarily means they're magic.
But all things in this world that can't be explained to me by Gene Wolfe are magic.
Well, what about Silk's communication with the outsider?
Say again?
What about Silk's communication with the outsider? Isn't that's
inspiration? That's
inspiration, but there's not a materialistic.
That happens through glasses. That's why it's significant that it happens on the ball court, because there is a glass which keeps the score.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like the outsider doesn't disregard the infrastructure of his
but
smaller.
But the outsider
vision.
isn't in mainframe, though, correct?
Correct.
But will follow the rules of mainframe while manifesting to someone who is under its charge.
But that still doesn't explain.
Yes, Johan's invoking Zagkiel and Apu Punchao as that's Mukor's closest to that kind of thing, or that's the closest.
That is satisfactorily explained by made-up science. And this is not satisfactorily explained by made-up science.
Or, who knows? I don't know. It's complicated.
Jury's out.
we need
Jury's out.
to just, keep it in mind as we push forward, because I imagine at some point we're going to stumble upon a thing where we were like, oh, but
Exactly.
this, is this,
I
this?
feel like it's going to be in there someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for us to make a big deal about it right now, so we remember when we hit that other thing. When we get some further clue as to the mechanics of Mucor movement.
Well, thanks, Jan, for kind of like helping complicate this issue for us. I think that's going to be that's actually useful.
Yes.
In a way, he's like an editor.
There you go.
Fuck you,
Oh
Glenn.
my god.
You know, we weren't streaming that conversation earlier.
Yeah,
so
no
this
one
is-
knows
this is
that we were
just a
talking
non
about
sequitur.
editors for a half hour before we started.
Glenn knows exactly what we mean. Don't you, Glenn?
All right.
An
Really.
avid watcher of
We're
our
going
show.
to push away our
Glenn-
2 viewers.
Glenn Howerton,
Called a friend
star
of the
of
show.
AP Bio.
Friend of the show, Glenn Greenwald.
Or Glenn Danzig.
Oh, let's hope not, because I'm wearing the sweater.
He's got a sense of humor. I think that you can tell that we're joking.
Oh, wait. Who was... I feel like there was at one point, there was like a call-in podcast. Was it of The Intercept? That I called in one time, and I don't know if it couldn't have been Glenn Greenwald, but maybe it was like Matt Tybee. Who else is in that clique?
Dennis
Scahill.
Scahill.
Scahill, yeah, maybe. I remember
Leaf
calling
Long.
in when I
Ryan
lived on...
Grimm.
I forget. I feel like maybe Scahill. I don't know who it was. It was a long ass time ago. It's when I lived at 1609 Calvert. I called them to them
Scahill's
once.
the podcaster.
Okay, it must have been who it was, but I swear there was another
Dennis
guy
Scahill's
too.
really angry.
Maybe it was. I mean, it might have been Greenwald. I don't know. But we had an unpleasant discussion where I told them not to do tweets where they put the period before the at. And it's really corny and grandstandy, and people who want to see their conversations can click on the thing, and then they lit me for being a millennial.
Wow.
Yeah, and I
That's
told them,
pretty cool.
I was like, dudes, I was like 81, born in 81, so I mean, by some metrics, I am technically a millennial, but I'm not the same thing you're talking about with like kids who ask someone out for the first time over IM or whatever. Like,
Was it the dude from the fair? From Project Fair?
I can't remember. This was so long ago, but it put me off The Intercept for a number of years.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, maybe the War Nerd was involved? Because I used to really like that guy.
That's
Mark Ames or
Yeah, maybe Mark Ames was one of the ones that was talking
Mark
when I
Ames
called
is
it.
not the war nerd, but he's the other guy on that show,
Oh, yeah.
and he's more like out and about in that clique.
Maybe it was him and Scahill. I don't know. I want one of them to be Greenwald, though. I was just so shocked. I was, like, so shocked that they went there. When I was like, dudes, I love your thing, but don't be cornballs on Twitter. Let me just give you a little tip. and they were like, get out of here, you child.
They don't like editors, Ryan. They don't. They don't like taking notes.
Go Velcro your fucking kids and get back on the playground, you little piece of shit. That's what they said to me.
That's great. They did you a favor, though. That's hilarious. That's like how when you drive by a school bus and flip off of those elementary school kids, you're giving them a gift because now they get to flip you off.
That's what you do when you see a bus.
Do you do that
Isn't
a lot,
it what
Connor?
you do when you see a bus?
I show them my pressed hams.
Oh, I see. I feel like that's getting you closer to being arrested.
That's how I live, on the edge.
As a would-be sex offender.
Oh, fuck.
That'll be great footage one day of me being like handcuffed and shoved into a car while I'm trying to explain pressed hams and how it's like different than perversion.
But do you still get a perverse pleasure out of it?
Well, I wouldn't say that part while I had handcuffs on. I would leave that for the trial.
Leave it for the HBO special. I've been watching Paradise Lost on HBO. That shit's insane.
Was
it
that
a
about that kid
Milton
Memphis
adaptation?
3?
Yeah, the Memphis 3, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's the craziest story.
We've probably talked about this before, but you know Bradley Cooper has a passion project where he plays Lucifer in a film make of Paradise Lost.
I really would
But
love
those
to
kids
see
weren't
something like
summoning the devil.
That's a weird thing for Bradley Cooper to be in.
I know, isn't that? It kind of scares me a little bit.
I could see it. I could
I want to
see
see
that.
like a big budget Paradise Lost.
That'd be
I do
tight.
too, but I don't know. I feel like the casting of Lucifer has to be on par with. It has to be as good as any other casting going. It has to be Prince level casting.
Yeah.
That is just.
But that actually. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you didn't.
I was just interrupted to say that Prince is like your benchmark for quality. But then I realized like, yeah, of course it is. It's the most high. It's like Prince is even better than Disney.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
high watermark. It's the high watermark of human
Yeah,
culture.
we don't do this in other areas except for culture. Like if somebody goes to like 20,000 leagues under the sea, we don't we don't send motherfuckers down 10,000, and celebrate them, make them heroes. You gotta go 21,000.
I like that. That is a very strange.
It seems to me that maybe your benchmark should be James Cameron.
So you're being literal.
I am
Affected by
being
this
literal.
culture. I'm getting way out of here because I have I feel like a large axe to grind and no place to take it about as far as the way that creative culture is primarily used in this country to uphold a myth of meritocracy. So I love to spin us down that road.
Yeah, I think that things are changing a little bit, Ryan. Like, I think in previous generations, how did you get noticed? More so, I'm not saying that it wasn't like, PR and financials behind it, but I feel like more so extraordinary talents tended to rise to the top. And now, like someone like Prince, who's a savant, like a genius, like rises to the top. Clearly, he must have had a lot of training and support early on too.
I think the culture then envisioned more of like special people being selected and like given a platform, whereas now it's I think a completely like lab engineering mentality. Like we don't take risks on like random crazy people. I mean, when was the last time there was a crazy rebellious artist like Amy Winehouse?
I would like to float the possibility that Avi Arad, right? That's the name of the guy who directed Hereditary and Midsummer.
That's Ari Aster. Avi Arad is the Marvel producer.
I knew I was getting it wrong. Ari Aster is a radical artist.
Have you seen that short film about the kid that molests his dad?
No, what the fuck?
Isn't that the same guy?
I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
I don't like any of those movies, and I especially don't like the short film about the kid that molests his dad. I
Well, I
find them
don't
all
know
to be.
about this dad molestation, but those other two movies are spectacular as a working wizard.
But I don't know. I really am put off by the way that guy doesn't like any of his characters.
Huh.
I don't think I don't think he like thinks of any of his characters as being human in the way that he is human.
Right, yeah, I'll totally agree with that.
I mean,
In a
that
very
often happens in
way.
horror,
Yeah.
I think.
His characters are Lovecraft's characters, where these people are insignificant in the face of the arcane powers that they are cat's paws of.
Yeah, that puts me to sleep a little bit when it's done with like a high budget.
Right, but I get to pause it and look at every single rune and be like, no, it all checks out. This is a spell, and...
It's a spell! I'm not crazy!
Yeah.
That's your Adrian? Adrian!
Yeah, exactly. So it's just fun to watch them.
What about the book?
What about the book?
Oh.
I could tiptoe into chapter 12 here.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I wouldn't mind going through just the Kypris part and then maybe leaving the Auk part for next
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
like that.
I don't understand why they're even the same chapter.
Kind of creeping or tentatively, approaching.
Let me ask. So, does anyone have a voice or face that they saw for Kypris, like casting the HBO?
Oh, I do
Long
have
time.
one. Oh, of a human? Because the thing I was seeing was Queen Frostine from Candyland.
Well, Jordan. Oh well, here's what I thought. Here's my question: are the gods maybe like kind of animated or Max Headroom-ish?
Maybe. Actually, it wasn't
Because-
Justine. It was the lollipop one. Whoever had, there's like one who has like these like this curly hair, and I just feel like her hair is like this adorable little like curly crown. Not like curly hair, but buns.
I've always thought that Connor has a little bit of a Lord Licorice vibe.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Lord Licorice. Like, so when the god comes up, there's like a swirl of colors, right? And then there's these descriptions of the gods, and it seems from based on what we have from the description here that it doesn't look like a regular person, right? And we don't even
like
know what a
CG
regular
a little
person
bit.
necessarily looks like in the
Well, they
world.
are enhanced. They are like
Yeah.
canonically animated
They're
to
CG.
form.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Is that something that
I
we're
think
all
they
kind of
can
seeing
work.
here? Is that they're enhanced? These are CG. Like, are these programs? You know, like is this like some kind of
It's like
computer game animation talking?
it's like they were
to-
mocapped. They're like when they were being ushered onto the world, they were all mocapped.
What does that
whatever.
mean?
And then
Motion
like
capture.
What does that word mean?
when Peter Jackson puts all the little dots on your face, and then you
Uh-huh.
pretend to be the dragon.
Picture Andy Serkis at any given point in time.
Okay. Yeah. So, is that how everyone sees it, or I'm just curious how people are reading this.
I'm going to put forth the craziest possible thing, maybe. So, these colors allow them to access the deep recesses of your mind and manipulate it in strange ways. Therefore, they could not be images on a screen and instead accessing a part of your mind that allows them to know
What
the
you want them
most
to look like.
platonic ideal of the scanned image. So you're seeing what you're seeing is not something that is ever physically possible. It is the most wonderful, perfect version of that thing, which could never possibly be a physical thing.
Yeah.
And
also that it would also make sense that it would be at least partially based on your own mental image of that god, because then
Right.
that reinforces your like belief too.
Right. Perfection is subjective, so therefore the God appears to you personally in your own personal way.
it's so if a non-virgin walks into the room during a theophany, do they just see the colors?
I think, and they might hear like, go.
I think that Rose tells us what a fucked person sees.
Oh, like her when she's seeing it, like her.
Yeah, there's some point where she sees it, and we get a description of that through her sexed up eyes.
Sexy
That's
Rose.
interesting. I mean, again, that's like blurring the lines between these religious rules and these sort of, these real world manifestations here.
Well,
Like,
and Kypris
why
and Silk have a
scientifically
little.
would that happen?
They have a little argument about it.
Wait, I have a salacious claim to make.
Yeah.
I think that Horn can only accurately describe what a person who has fucked sees when they look at the colors.
Ooh.
I think Horn's been doing Nettle already.
Mm.
Just saying it.
I'm into that.
Name is Horn.
Yeah, his name is Horn, exactly. Anyway, on to the argument.
Oh yeah, so she kind of doesn't Kypris bring it up and is like, that fucking celibacy shit, and then Silk has to justify it to her, and he's like, I think this is skipping a little deeper into there, where he's like, it proves that we're serious. I feel like is the gist of what he says. It's like, I guess it's such a great sacrifice that we're not disingenuous.
Yeah, and also that their minds are like focused. Right, what does he say there? He's like, we've been spared 1,000 quarrels and humiliations because we have no kids for him.
That is, yeah. The 1,000 quarrels and humiliations is really funny to me, because it's not just about the children. It's about any encounter, any physical encounter with anyone.
Yeah.
In intimate physical encounter with anyone. You know, like Bono allegedly says that time doesn't make a body age. It's getting serious is what makes a body age. People appear to grow old because they become more serious over time. And that you can stave off aging by not being serious.
Famous scientist Bono.
Yeah, Bono, who's Catholic, like Gene Wolfe. But
definitely not definitely not overly serious, Bono.
Well, I mean, he is visibly aging too, so it doesn't necessarily disprove his thing.
Oh,
but
true, very true.
Right here, when it says we're spared 1,000 quarrels and humiliations, it gave me this like weird, it brought to mind that Bono thing to me, and made me almost wonder, maybe the thing that ages people is like avoiding quarrels instead of having sex.
So not having sex or fights.
Well, like not having sex in order not to have a quarrel later. That's like that what makes your body age.
Because you have quarrels?
Because you've like made a choice to avoid the sex so that you may also avoid the quarrels and the humiliations.
Okay.
That youth runs into those things without any like regard for the future, but then once you start making regarding for the future, you can't retain your youth.
Yeah, you don't bang as many people when you realize you could get in trouble.
Yeah, and when you get older, when you're like, I could do this, but then there's going to be drama.
Yeah, then there's going to be a whole thing. It's not even worth.
Yeah.
I know from experience, it's not even worth the whole thing.
And every time you think that, like, your body just, like, dies a tiny bit. And then you become wrinkled, etc. Kidneys
This is
go
what
out.
makes you young, is that you will do anything to fuck.
I don't think it's a crazy idea.
I like where you're going with it. I think it could catch on.
What do they say about this in the chats?
Yeah, let's see. We got
They're saying,
They're not going.
when you do it with a lady.
all we got
What's it like?
is Jan saying that the true nature of the gods on the world is that they're 3D anime women who sing pop songs.
Like Final Fantasy X2.
I mean, kind of.
They're
Yes!
they're the Miku-chan or whatever.
I mean, if
Oh,
that is what the most perfect being would be for you,
Right. Yeah. What is that telling us about
Ding!
Johan?
I think that there are people out there for whom that is the case.
I would want that one.
I guess I wouldn't be shocked
It would
if
be
God
fun.
revealed himself to me in the form of a Japanese cartoon. I'd be like, yeah, I earned this.
It sounds to me like that's kind of what Silk is seeing right now.
Oh wait, so who's does anyone have any specific voices or faces that they put on this?
No.
I hadn't really thought about it. For me, it's so ephemeral, like that experience that.
I really like the voice of Kuipers. I feel like he did a great job with the voice of the goddess of love here. Like I underlined all the little ticks that are like the way that she commands him every time. There's like a command and then a softening of the command immediately after. Like, do this for me, won't you, darling? You're like,
Yeah. She's like, wipe this glass.
For
And
me?
wipe this glass and I'll forgive you.
yeah.
I'll forgive you, whatever.
She also says he looks like a big black rabbit. Which then, this is the same chapter where Musk says you want to see how a hawk kills a rabbit.
Well, rabbits would also be what you sacrifice to Kypros.
Exactly.
Well,
White
not to get
bunnies.
ahead of myself, but she asks him, have you sacrificed a rabbit or a big white bird recently, or a white bird? And he's like, oh no, I haven't. But night
Yes!
before,
Yeah.
great-headed, big white-headed one.
That belonged to Musk at once.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Seems like Wolf would have made that connection there. It doesn't seem like a detail that slipped by.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, and
But
Old
okay,
Wolfie.
but we have the descriptions of the voice, what Ryan you're talking about, and then we have a little bit of descriptions of the visuals too. Not much, a little bit. And he talks about the eyes, right? So the
Read it
eyes,
out loud.
Okay, so let me read this here. Let me just do a little story time. Her eyes were of a color he had never seen before, a blue so deep that it was almost black, without being truly black, or even dark. Their lids so heavy that she seemed blind. What do we make of that? Is she stoned? Like her
It's like
eyelids are so
bedroom
heavy. It seems like she has like nothing in her eyes,
It
right?
makes me think of cow eyes, like cattle.
Boobus.
Like,
Boobus.
just like big, dreamy, maybe like huge eyelashes, lots.
Sounds like a
Starting
cartoon.
to sound like an anime.
It sounds like a cartoon. I'm serious.
Do as I asked, won't you please? She gets weird real quick though
Yeah.
in this conversation. I watched him kill 1,000 once, men mostly. It was in the square. I watched from my balcony. They made them kneel facing him, and some still knelt when they were dead. Him is Pos, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where does that come from, though? She's like she busts that little tidbit of story out from nowhere.
Yeah. It's when he's about to wipe off the glass, and the handkerchief has blood on it. That's
Yeah.
like that triggered
The blood.
the blood.
Yeah. She's like, oh, blood's no big deal. I've seen, I saw him kill 1,000.
Yeah.
For him, she doesn't even have to introduce. She doesn't even have to say pause. She's like, it's him. I saw him.
Yeah. I feel like when she says it, it's capitalized, but when Horn/Wolf write it, it's not capitalized.
Yeah.
Well, also like her it makes sense that she would just use a pronoun because like to Silk it's Pos, but to her it's Typhon.
Right.
And it's easier to just use a pronoun so you don't like slip up and say the wrong one.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's what I would imagine is happening.
That's really important. That's Wolf, the author, making sure just to say him. Because if he said Typhon, that would throw everything off. But that's
Although
probably...
one would feel like they would just code it so that when the personality thinks Typhon, the construct would say Pos.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I mean, you do that with a pronoun in a way.
Yeah.
True.
But it's
That's
also
what I'm
interesting. So in the next paragraph, Kypris asks Silk, as I kind of already mentioned, about the sacrifices, which tells us that the gods are aware of the concept of sacrifices, but aren't like directly watching for sacrifices all the time. They're not like, ooh, I just got a sacrifice. Like they would, she wouldn't have to ask him. She's like, hey, did you happen to sacrifice anyone the last couple days? So
Yeah. It's the people sacrificing that derive all the benefit.
Yeah.
None of it's going up to the gods. It's for the people that
It's
they
not
have
related
to
to the gods. Yeah, which I think helps clarify a little bit of like what sacrifice,
Yeah.
why that's relevant, or how it's. I don't know.
It is a neat piece of information to shove in there. I mean, I guess she's also on the run, so maybe she's not like getting her mail. But I think it does. I think it does imply what you're saying, Tim, where it's like she does. They don't know when a sacrifice happens. It's not the point of it.
Also, don't they would do whatever observing they're doing probably through the terminals, right? So and like most of them are broken.
Most of them are what?
Broken.
Are broken.
Busted.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. So that they just might not be aware of it now because they just have less access to the information.
Could it also be that instead of just going and spelling it out, she's sort of like teasing him, like, "Oh, have you sacrificed any birds lately?" And it also like because it's also we do have to think about this as it's a book that's being written, and isn't it more boring if he just says, "Oh, because you looked at a bird," you know? It's like a clue for us, for us to think more. I don't know how it's written. I haven't I didn't read it for this time. So I don't know what the dialogue literally is. So maybe it can't be construed that way. But that's how I would read that. If I had.
Yeah. It's pretty vague. She just says like, "Have you sacrificed to me today or yesterday? Some of those big white bunnies or a big white bird?" And Silk right now is like overwhelmed with trying to figure out which goddess this is. So he's not really that clued in. He's like, "Oh shit, like who is it?" And then as soon as she says that, he's like, "Oh, okay, this is Kypris," you know. And so
that's
he
her
missed-
making him work for. She's not just telling him who she is. She's making her
she
work.
never does.
She's making him work for it. So do we know that that's really Kypris then? It is, but do we know? It is.
Who else would it be? Volpe?
She does say it's not Molpe because Molpe's hair falls across her face. That's I underlined. Like, what is there? What is the significance
the
of that?
ring.
Oh, because she's
Or like Sia.
Because she's shy or whatever. Because she's weird or whatever.
She's
And
weird.
Is she the youngest too?
Neglected child. Sometimes happens with the youngest.
Yeah.
That's a good point to make.
I guess it's also just notable here, you know, we should mention that it's established that the gods are looking through the windows and can see what's happening outside. So just to get that out of the way, like they're not just playing out on the screen. They can see and comprehend what's happening.
Well, we've firmly established that in a totally undivine way, monitor programs can see through any monitor screen. That there are two ways in like a terrestrial sense as well as spiritual.
Right.
You know, a monitor looks and pops in the room when Silk is in the and like
Right. Mm-hmm.
even without gods, monitors can see and hear.
Yeah.
Screens
Yeah.
can see and hear.
Right.
Like our own, like the one I'm using right now.
Yep.
Whoa.
Which again is so smart, so prescient.
Quetzal is the reason that they're all broken, right? Quetzal's like gone around and broken them.
Huh, probably.
Ooh,
And
I
that
like
come
that.
up later on, like when I feel like Quetzal like kind of tells Silk that when they meet the first time.
Sounds vaguely familiar to me now that you say it.
I'm gonna keep my eye out for that.
Because it's like there's all this shit going on in Mainframe, and like the gods are like Paz is dead,
Right.
and Quetzal knows Paz is dead, but like people don't know Paz is dead. And I can't remember what exactly he says, but I feel like he says to Silk, like, yeah, I had to kind of go around and like disable most of these because it's just like a shit show. I don't know.
Pretty cool.
Another
Maybe
thing.
it had something to do with the council early into the end, also.
Hmm.
Can't remember. I'm gonna throw in some vague shit that I can't really remember.
No, it's good. I'm gonna keep my eyes open for that.
I'm somewhere in like the third book right now,
Nice.
so I'm kind of like
Yeah, me too.
lobbing between things a little bit. Moving over more.
Cool.
Hmm.
Just progress report.
Progress report?
I undid everything that I just ended last night because I decided it was not really laying the way I would want it to, and it was better to just undo it now than to like get further and realize it's not what I want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you have like 15 minutes anything they want to like make sure gets in there today?
I just want to mention this little exchange. She's 23, and you, Silk, how old are you? 23, Gentle Kypress. There, you see, I prompted you. I know I did. I found that very strange.
Oh, right. So that means that all that shit she was saying about sacrifices means, like, all that shit she was saying was her trying to get him to figure out who she is.
Oh, this is in regards to Hyacinth. Only because I play with High sometimes. Now she reminds me of the way I used to be, but all that will be over soon. She's 23, and you, Silk, how old are you?
Yeah.
Also 20. Very interesting that they're the same age when they're both possibly chip people, right? Revived
How
at
is
the
that?
same time?
Yeah.
Kypers is clearly here drawing a parallel and saying, I mean, this is the way I feel like a god says, something about Silk and Hyacinth is the same.
Yeah.
And, like, she's really underlining that by being like, there, you see, I prompted you, I know I did. But that also, like, she's the goddess of love. Like, is the prompting she's talking about his love for Hyacinth?
That's what I thought.
She
She made him have sex with her.
They begged, and they will continue to.
Yeah, they uncontrollably have sex,
Uncontrollably?
don't they?
As opposed to what other way is there?
Control.
With a contract?
Purposefully to have children.
Oh. The only real way.
Yeah, the only acceptable way.
The official way.
God's way.
Right.
The official.
The mainstream way.
Yeah.
Do they end up having kids in the future? For those who've read ahead, do they have?
Is that a question you honestly want answered?
You
Just a
don't.
yes or no.
No.
Okay. Because I was curious if that was sort of the like the purpose of Kypress's program right now was to have these two procreate.
No, she's not the goddess of pregnancy or motherhood. She's the goddess of fucking.
Yeah, she's the mistress.
Still got to be kind of a link there.
I don't think in this case there is.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, as someone who's had some one-night stands, this is the goddess of not thinking about that link.
Yeah.
Are any of Paz's children Kypresses?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it would have to be one of those miscellaneous ones, right? It wouldn't have been the main guys. The
Because
main
it's
nine.
pretty hard to fake someone's mother.
Oh, they hate her. They all hate her. Never
Yeah, they
mind.
hate her a lot. No one could be like, no, kid, no, this was your kid. Remember?
Remember?
When you had a baby?
What?
Well, I'm saying, like, you couldn't Typhon couldn't sneak one of his illegitimate children into the Pantheon because, like, what? Echidna's a fucking psycho. She wouldn't be like, oh, that's someone else's kid? You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. Yes.
I wouldn't cross Echidna. Not if I was Pos. Not if I was anyone.
Oh, Paz is fucking dead.
He did. And you know what? And he lived to pay for it.
Yeah, and then Severian brought him back to life and killed him again.
Damn. That's just how it is sometimes.
It do be like that.
Them's the breaks.
It do be like that.
It bees like that.
I kind of like how Tim's camera has been giving us holy hues quite a bit. This.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Everyone else is seeing that? I don't
Yeah.
know what's that's about.
It's great.
I just
It's called
assumed there was like a
theophany.
police car on your block.
Do you have any police cars, Tim?
Not now. Usually there is, but now not so much. It went away as soon as I adjusted it a little bit.
It did.
Must have just been the light.
It was the Holy
Yeah,
Spirit.
sometimes they're real finicky with light, these webcams.
Light is a crazy thing.
It's so crazy. It's real. Like, it's real.
Light is real.
Light
Wow,
is so
that's-
heavy that it's slowing down the rotation of the galaxy.
So cool.
We're gonna have to institute a limit to the amount of carry-ons light can take.
That's right.
Be one bag now.
I can only see like 4 things at once.
That's
instead
right.
instead of any number more than that.
I gotta go do that golden shower.
Oh,
Wait, should we end it?
He's gonna go plant a tree.
he disappeared into the Hobbit hole.
That's really funny.
Well, we still have to talk about when we're gonna do it next and whatnot. So
Yeah, we can give him a minute.
I liked when he pulled the bowl of cereal out of nowhere. Did anybody else see
Ryan
that?
did?
I don't think
I definitely
It
heard
was
it.
really good. He just like reached up and grabbed a bowl of cereal out of nothing and started eating it and then put it back.
I like how his weird, like, whatever that coat rack or whatever is like. There.
Yeah.
Yesterday he had a funny. Oh, on Friday he had a funny crescent roll routine. Where I don't know why he brought out crescent rolls.
He was making
Because
Yeah.
crescent rolls are good.
Then
You-
revealed that he was cooking crescent rolls.
but he was also holding an unopened can of them.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Are we talking
I guess, is
croissants?
there anything
Yeah.
else in
No,
the chat we haven't
crescents.
seen yet?
Yeah, chat.
Let's check the chat.
Check the chat.
Let's see. Johan's talking to us a little bit. Was
Anything good?
was saying wasn't high. So when we were talking about like Kypers's sort of like droopy eyes, he was saying wasn't Hyacinth intoxicated on her first meeting with Silk? So maybe that's that image playing into it.
Yeah.
I could see that being the case, especially since it has to do with Silk's perception of her.
Right.
And it's revealed that things are going wrong intentionally, so they will get off the ship. I think. Yeah, I think that we've talked about that. Quetzal luring them to the Inhumi with some accelerationism. It's possible. I think Hyacinth is a native, unlike Silk. Have we talked about that? Is Hyacinth a robo person like Silk?
Yeah.
Well, we have that theory, the working theory that she is. Well, because Hyacinth
It's
is
a gem.
plant and a mineral.
Right.
So she's a Jalenta style hybrid.
Jan mentions that
That's-
she has brown eyes. I guess I'm not sure of the significance of that, but
I was thinking about that too, and I was like, well, if blonde hair is pretty common in Byron, like, that's what I was kind of thinking about. Triviagonti, and I was like, is she a Triviagonti spy? And the brown eyes is a clue because they're like somehow different. They like play that. You know what I mean?
But Chenille knew High growing up, right? Or knows that she grew up. Chenille like knew about where High grew
She
up.
knew about High before, but when? I can't remember when.
Well, that
Did it
typing
start at
sounds
Orchids?
crazy,
She
whoever
knew about
said
she knew about Hyacinth before Orchids. Or
Must
met
be
her at
right.
Orchids? I don't remember.
That's what I thought, but I don't know.
Before Orchids. Like they were childhood friends? Yeah. She talks like I don't know. I'm not sure.
I thought that was the case, but I might be misremembering.
It could be. There's some kind of conversation to that effect. So I believe it.
yeah. So yeah, Jan just saying Silk has blue eyes and it indicates his godhood and foreignness, whereas everyone in Byron is dark of hair and eye.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's a regular thing in Byron. But the whole thing is that blue eyes are not uncommon in Byron. Silk realizes that Crane isn't from there.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Because he's like, he asked somebody at some point, like, you know people with blue eyes, right? And they're like, yeah, I know a few. You know, it's not like everyone. It's kind of like here, where like some people have it, but it's not. Most people don't, but it's not like
It's not
unheard of.
crazy.
Who here has blue eyes?
I have sort of gray blue eyes.
I got greens.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
All right, everybody get real close.
I mean, you can see that I have brown eyes from across the fucking room, right?
This is good content.
Oh no.
I think we should end on that.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Chinese girls do not have green eyes.
What?
This is a reference to Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, right. Okay, well, that was fun. All right, I'm gonna stop the stream.
Also owned by Disney.
Wait, 2 weeks?
Yeah. So let's 2 weeks
We have
from
to
now
tell
is
them when it's happening. We can't stop the stream yet.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2
The
weeks.
6th.
2 weeks is the 6th of December.
6th?
6th.
Can we call the period of time that is 2 weeks a total recall?
Why not a Schwarzenegger?
Or Fortnite.
Well, because I like Total Recall, and I don't like those other two things.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't understand what you were saying. I thought you were gonna ask if we could call it Fortnite, and I was like,
No, I don't like Fortnite. That's for children.
It is.
Well.
We are not-
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So December 6th. That's what's up.
The day before Pearl Harbor Day.
Oh,
A
no.
day that will live in infamy.
All right.
2
Thanks
days
everybody
after
for
Band
watching.
Camp Friday.
Johan, especially for contributing so much. Sanic for.
Yep, MVP Johan.
Yeah, Johan really crushed it this one. Given
That's
Sanic.
a welcome back to Sanic.
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
huh?
Welcome
Yeah.
back to Sanic.
Glad to see
And
Sanic.
Miss Sanic.
and we have 0 viewers now. So goodbye. I mean, we're